To call the Monessen City Council meeting on April 13th, 2021 to order. Roll call, please.
Councilor McGregor. Here. Councilor Norchkowski. Here. Councilor Coles.
Here.
Councilwoman Thomas.
Here.
Mayor Sherrod.
Here. Please rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes from the March 9th, 2021 meeting. Is there a second? Any questions, corrections? Oh, I was looking for them. Do you have them?
Yeah. Nice to see you, bro. How you doing? Oh, did they?
I didn't catch that. The minutes. If you're other person in the back. He's making copies. We will revisit the minutes while John looks for them. So we'll move on to Mr. Mosier, who requested time to speak. So if you...
Hello, my name is Ron Moser, 25 Colonial Drive. I just wanted to say a couple of real quick things. I really don't want to get into any sort of argument or mudslinging or anything else. For the last few days, everybody in Monessen received what I consider to be a campaign letter in the mail, highly disguised as the State of the Monessen Finances 2021. The bottom line is, the mayor was nowhere to be found. The city council was struggling to get him to meet at the end of 2019. In an effort to survive and make the next year better, council raised taxes by 5.68 mils, or about $500,000. Granted, 2020 was a tough on city council without a TAM note. They survived by not paying off the short-term debt and using the garbage collection monies to get them through. When the newfound tax money started rolling in, rather than paying off the short-term debt, they hired folks and gave raises. Now with additional revenue, they still haven't paid off the debt, including the police pension, health care, and the refuge authority. Mayor Sherrod seems to forget that the redevelopment authority is part of the city of, it is the Monessen Redevelopment Authority of the city of Monessen. It is an arm of the city and serves at the will of the mayor. Back when you first became mayor, you were invited to participate in the redevelopment authority meetings, and you get to show up to a single meeting. The properties that are listed in your letter are properties that were received that were taken into the redevelopment authority by John Harhide when he moved into the redevelopment authority when it suited the city in 2013. It was also while he was serving as executive director of the redevelopment authority and receiving a stipend from the redevelopment authority. When nobody from the then Mayor Smith administration or John Harhide failed to show up to the court when we were sued over a bad land deal, the court issued a default judgment and left the redevelopment authority broke and out of control for over 15 years. It wasn't until 2018 that the RDA was able to satisfy the judgment. Mayor Schroll has not attended a single redevelopment authority meeting or offered any assistance or guidance. Wanting to put a lien on the property that they gave to the RDA will only delay any future use of the land by many years. We should be working together to bring in investors, jobs, new people to the area, not fighting. The city took out 2 bonds in 2010, one for $5 million, the other for $2.5 million with 30 and 40-year terms. In 2017, the city refinanced these bonds. The DCED has rules and regulations that control how that can be done. They basically require a 2% or better savings and do not allow change in the duration. The money saved through refinance can be used to lower the payment or taken as cash. At the same time, the blighted building next to the Citizens Bank across the street collapsed on top, requiring emergency demolition. The city paid for it using some of the savings from the refinance of the bonds. This didn't happen on Mayor Sherrod's watch, nor did it happen during the time that Anthony Ordzikowski served as deputy mayor as implied. It was done during Mayor Marakis' term in an effort to keep the bank in town and reduce blight, which, after all, was what the bond was originally supposed to do.
I'm getting tired of shit.
Let's not get into mudslinging contest. It serves nobody. We're better than that. Let's keep to the facts. Thank you.
Thanks.
Could I ask him a question?
One minute. I have here the capital improvement fund spreadsheet. All of the engineering fees for the demolition started on September 9th, September 10th, 2018 until March 27th, 2019. So that was during that time, not during Mayor Mavrakis' term. And the money, if I may, the bond was refinanced, yes, but a loan was taken out to pay off the bond. That's not a refinance. The bond was paid off, a loan was taken out, expenses were created, obviously, for taking out that new loan, and then an additional $200,000 was taken out on top of it. So if the $200,000 hadn't been taken out, we would have broken even on the so-called refinance. So the additional money that was taken out is what was used. Putting it into a capital improvement fund was smart. Tearing down buildings without attempting to get any additional funding was not smart. The city got additional funding from Senator Stefano for the Giba building demolition across from your parking lot. I don't understand why additional funding could have been gotten for those emergency demolitions if they were truly emergency. No one is going to buy an empty lot for $200,000 to recoup that money. So the additional money was taken out in the form of a loan. So maybe the interest rate was less, but we had, you were correct, 2010, 2012 bonds were taken out, totaling $7.2 million, I believe, 7.3 million, I forget which. We paid down $550,000 of that money to $6.5 million, and then instead of taking out the refinancing on top, or taking out the new loan to pay it off on the amount that was left, the $6.5 million, the new loan that was taken out was on the original amount. So you reset the, not you, but in general, the amount was reset. So you took out additional money that was already paid off between 2010, 2012, and 2018. So it did set us farther into debt. And while those buildings did need to come down, there may have been a better way to do it. When I was still attending meetings in March of 2018, I signed off on the document. I didn't really have a choice because I don't have a veto, but putting it into a capital improvement fund at the time would have been smart. I wasn't aware that it was a loan and not a bond, because everyone was saying, oh, it's a bond refinance. It wasn't. It was a loan instead of a bond that paid off the original bonds. And I have the folder of information right here if anyone would like to look at it.
I would like to look at it. I'm a little bit concerned, because first off, I never saw that myself, for one. For two, the balance sheet that you do has negative assets and negative liabilities. I don't understand how that can be.
Which
Your interpretation of the
balance sheet are you referring to?
The balance sheet presented to the DCE, to the USDA over the sewage project.
Do you know what date the balance sheet was for?
I didn't bring it with me this time.
Now I'll have to look. This information, though, is for the so-called bond refinance. This is not the USDA.
Right.
So I just wanted to be clear. And to your point about me not attending meetings, I would like to say that last week you came to council, you always attend, and I asked you if you advertised the redevelopment authority meetings.
Right.
You told me, yes, I did, and it was specifically at the hour and 49-minute mark in the recording of the meeting.
Right.
You did not. You provided a copy in my right to know request of the advertisement from April 7th. I then subsequently asked for the ad for January through April. So I have no idea when your redevelopment authority meetings are, and you didn't advertise them, so now there are concerns because all of the deeds that have been transferred from the sidewalks that we've been working together, the city and the redevelopment authority to transfer, now they're in limbo because your meeting wasn't valid and you need to go and ratify everything because it violates the Sunshine Act if your meetings in fact were not advertised. So if January through April was advertised, I would ask that you provide a copy of that. I know the ad in April 7th's paper was for May through December, and the paper did confirm that that is the only ad they received. So if they're mistaken, please provide that copy. If not, we will have to work together to have the votes ratified for those deeds, because now all of those property owners are in limbo.
Okay, first off, let me address a couple of those different items. You're right, we didn't advertise a meeting in January, February, and March of this year. We did for April, that was done the day after the
April is not included in that copy.
It is included, it was added, you file the second one, and I will show you that in that. We did advertise in 2019 that included part of 2020. Or excuse me, 2018 would include. I've got my years off. Bottom line is, there was no meeting in January. The only meeting we had was to accept the your appointee, and we immediately adjourned after that. The meeting in February and March were strictly non-new business meetings or anything else. There's no new business presented. The quick deeds that were done were all done last year. They got processed and completed this year, but they were all submitted last year. It was the tax office that took time because of COVID, and COVID was really slowing down everything. And really, that was the problem with meetings in February and March, is we have a very small shop, and COVID was just, the governor was not allowing a lot of people. Lastly, but not least, to be honest, it fell through the cracks. And if we need to ratify something, we will ratify that. No, I don't have a problem with that.
Tim, I have a question. Can you, or is it, can it be done, and apparently the mayor's saying it was done, and I was just asking, you can convert a bond to a loan? I thought a bond had to stay as a bond, even if it's refinanced.
I mean, it all depends on the source of funding and what the restrictions would be on the initial bond.
The DCED would have done that, am I correct?
I mean, DCD would have had to approve what was permissible, assuming it was a financing that had to run through DCD, which typically there has to be a filing with DCD if it's a debt issuance. But once again, the initial, whether it can actually be a bond or a note, there's different terms for that, is typically in whatever the initial financing was, whether there would be a restriction in the initial financing as to what it could be refinanced to.
So, as the mayor has said, that there's the binder there, everything. Have you reviewed all that?
I have not. Admittedly, that's history that I'm not familiar with at all.
So maybe to clear this all up for everything, you might, if you ever have time to review it, thank you.
And I don't know, that may be true that bonds, obviously have stipulations, but if you're taking out a loan to pay off the bond, then the bond no longer exists. The bond is satisfied if it's paid off with a loan. So
That would mean then, if I'm correct, and I might be wrong, that would mean then the city would have had to get a loan for, what, $5-6 million?
7.4.
And I don't think the city has credit, even in good times.
Well, if we took out a loan, we certainly don't have credit now because of it. So that seems to be what happened. It is not a bond any longer. So something happened in the meantime to make it into a loan.
That's why I would ask the solicitor officially, would you go through that with your leisure?
Okay with that.
And please, you might be able to clear this whole thing up and say, no, it is a loan.
Here's this.
Yes, it is a
fund
bond,
too.
I don't know.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, this is my question to Ron. Now, what you're doing, and also Wachowski does the same thing, you're nitpicking everything
That's exactly
what this
right.
mayor is doing, okay? Now, you're running for mayor, for office. What would you have done to correct
Tell
the
her.
city of Monessen? What would you have done? You're tearing his format, you're questioning it. What would you have done? Now, you're the one who's running for mayor, so answer that.
Well, first off, I made it quite clear that I do not want to put all, 20/20 hindsight's a perfect thing. And that's just not a
Okay,
area
but
that
what
we
would you do? I mean, you're the one who's running for mayor. So tell me, what would you have done differently than what
Excuse me, Matt.
happened?
This is taken away from the meeting. These people are coming for the meeting, not for this. All this that's going on has got to stop. And we keep saying this, but we are not helping the city of Monessen by this back and forth continually every meeting. Let's stop it and move forward with what the business of the city and get it done. They spoke to what they here 3 hours and hear people bicker back and forth. Let's do what we're supposed to
You're
do,
the part of
okay?
the shit.
I'm perfectly
Okay, but you
fine
guys
with
are
it.
going back
Damn
and
it,
forth.
every
It's
damn
not
week
even
you
about
come
the
down with
issues at
bullshit.
hand. Let's deal with the issues at hand, please.
Do you have the minutes? We have, who seconded the motion? Was it you, Dawn? Any corrections on the minutes? Questions, comments, corrections? Call the roll.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes,
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to open the floor to public comment on agenda items only.
Okay, Ernie Telegraph is 29, right? On page 2, I'm happy to see we're getting all this money, 313,000, 36,000, 715,000. Can you tell me where is this money going to be spent?
Well, specifically the $313,907, that's the CDBG money that we get every year. So that's demolitions and road paving.
Okay.
The $36,450 is a grant that I wrote for the Strategic Management Planning Program. It'll go to train the Zoning Board, the Planning Commission, and the new Blight Board, and to develop a blight strategy and to start to digitize the code office. And then the $715,000, that's the estimate that we're expected to get from the American Rescue Plan. So as of right now, and it's still changing, we would not be able to spend that on payroll or pensions. But when we actually get the money, what I would be asking council to do is pay off the 2019 debts, and then I think that some of the money should go into an interest-bearing account if we're allowed to do that, to be used for grants as grant matches and whatnot, to spread the money further. And also, there is a street that desperately needs paved that is not eligible for CDBG because no one lives on it, and that is Evergreen that runs between the cemeteries. I'm sure you've all driven over it. There is no avoiding potholes on it any longer. It would cost $54,000 to pave because it's basically blacktop on top of red log. So those are the things that I would ask council to consider when we actually get the money, but we have not received it yet. I don't know when we will.
Okay, one last thing, F on the third page, ordinance 1234. Where are these mobile food vehicles going to be permitted to?
Downtown, and then obviously not in an alley. And then for special events and whatnot, council could approve them to be at the park. Obviously, for example, we have a new coffee shop being put into the old city hall, and we have a coffee food truck coming into town this week. Right now, we don't have anything that says they can or can't be here. And since the police regulates the parking, the police handle that. So obviously when the coffee shop opens up, we're not going to put the coffee food truck next to the coffee shop. You know, like it's not illegal, but it's not good business or professional.
Okay, so if they have to get a permit?
Yeah, in the ordinance, there's a permitting process to it.
Okay, so let's say a truck has a permit for Dawn. Could they in the summertime move up to the city park and do something there for a special occasion with the same permit?
I think in the ordinance, the way that it's written, and I'll have to go back and look, council would have to approve like a special event, like for the park, any park. So they would have to get special permission. But I think I have it structured as an annual permit, so it would be good for the designated areas, but then if they wanted to do like a park or something, they would have to get special permission for it.
Okay, and just one last thing. Lois, when somebody comes up here and starts going into the past and tearing the things apart, I have a right to ask him what he's doing.
I didn't say you didn't, but this
Okay,
is not the
you're
place
one
for it. This is not the place for it.
Interrupted, and you started saying,
You cannot take a half hour to an hour of a council meeting for that when people have come to hear the business of the city.
He had the floor.
I said
And
all of it had.
I asked one
Ernie,
question.
I didn't say you were. I just said the whole thing had to stop. Okay. Now, if I just said you stop, that's a different story.
Okay, moving on to correspondence. Monessen will have a community cleanup day. We are looking for volunteers for Saturday, April 17th from 8 to noon. A rain date is Saturday, April 24th from 8 to noon. Some areas of focus are 9th Street and 9th Street Park, 6th Street and 6th Street Park, downtown, Perenni Boulevard, Grand Boulevard, State Road, 3rd Street, Parkway because there's a bunch of debris on Parkway, and Eastgate because there's a bunch of debris on the hillside. But obviously, if anyone is interested in just cleaning up around their own properties, that's welcome too. But we are looking for volunteers that day. Then simultaneously, we're going to do another electronics recycling day. So if you have any old computers, MP3 players, CD players, radios, whatever you have, printers, you could drop it off at the city garage from 8 to noon so that we could recycle it through the Westmoreland Cleanways. And then also on April 17th, Westmoreland Cleanways is having its own waste collection from 9 to 1, and they require pre-registration. You'd have to call them 412-567-6566. They're located in Greensburg, Latrobe area. Then moving on to item D.
Mayor, I'm sorry, I apologize. Is there a rain date if it rains like we want for the community cleanup day?
For our recycling event?
Yeah, for the electronics.
No, because they're just going to drop them off, so yeah. So item D, Amendment 1 to the Agreement for Engineering Services by and between the City of Monessen and WEC Inc. has been approved by the USDA. And Mr. Mosier asked a question last week at the work session regarding the resident project representative. So I received this answer from John Brady of the USDA. In the engineer-owner agreement between the City of Monessen and WEC Inc., it indicates that WEC will be providing the resident project representative, RPR. The estimated fee for this service at $1,673,100. Agreement amendment number 1 indicates that the RPR rate increased to $98, which is $3 an hour more than when the agreement was created. With the RPR cost being dependent on how fast or slow the construction is completed, USDA Rural Development will not concur with a budget change until it is determined to be necessary. So for now, the agreed upon budget for RPR services will remain at $1,673,100. Please let me know if you have any additional questions. And then I also received a follow-up from Tony Vitale of WEC Inc. He says the project representative budget is for mandatory inspection and construction management services. The budget includes as many people as necessary at any given time, multiple inspectors at the same time, not a single project representative, as Mr. Mosier implies. The USDA requires a qualified inspector familiar with the project. The hours and rates were negotiated and approved by the USDA. And for phase 3, the field work is 90% complete. The plans are about 20% complete. We are waiting on DEP for permit requirements, and the Act 537 plan update of the 1971 plan delayed our progress by at least 4 months, but it will cover all remaining phases. After Council approves the Act 537 plan, we will need to submit the plan to DEP for their review and approval. Tony.
The question on that, is that a solid, hard stop at 1.6 million?
No, because the longer the project takes, the more it's going to go up.
But then wouldn't the USDA have to grant us more
Yes.
funding? Right
Not
now?
necessarily.
Well, Tim's saying yes.
Well,
Do they?
so that's your budget for the USDA funding.
Mhm.
So the USDA is going to hold the city and all the contractors that are involved to that specific budget. If there's anything more beyond that, that would, if it was necessary to the project and it exceeded budgets, either DCD would, or not DCD, USDA would then have to provide supplemental funding, or that would come from the city itself for that additional funding.
And we talked a little.
But just to keep in mind, I mean, that's why even with the increase with the rates and the rate differential, the budget will still remain the same because USDA holds all the participants to the existing budget.
And we were talking about this last week. We were having a hard time getting interim funding from any bank for the USDA. The USDA will not grant us any additional funding until the 2019 and 2020 audits are done. The solicitor says that Steve Cipher plans to get the information to us by the end of the week. We are going to hold them to that because
Just one quick. So I spoke with Mr. Cipher. It was a good conversation. I think there was some miscommunication there, and it's busy season for most accountants, so that might explain some of that. He was going to be reviewing the request for information and then go through the records that they have here within the week. And that doesn't mean by the end of this week, but within the week to then hopefully be able to start getting that information to the forum with the new auditors at some point here in the next couple of weeks.
well, hopefully it's not too delayed
Right.
because it was supposed to be done by April 30th,
Right.
That's
the 2019 audit.
right, and I had also, Tim, spoken to Steve Cipher last Friday, and I told him he needed to call you to figure it out, so it appears that it is happening.
Yes. So he and I had spoken, it's Tuesday, so yesterday.
Okay.
Yes.
So the USDA project is on hold until we get those audits, basically.
So the last thing I would ask then is, who do we have to hold their feet to the fire to make sure there's not change order, and then all of a sudden,
If you would like to hold the USDA and the federal government to the fire,
well, no, they're giving
By
us
all
the money,
means.
Matt, we're spending it though.
yes.
But say something comes up and now instead of this part of it's $300,000.
We will only spend to what they agreed to, no more. They agreed to everything. Before you spend it, they agree. That's the rules.
And one of the pluses for USDA funding, which you don't get in all types of funding, is USDA is very hands-on. And so actually before any disbursements or any work gets approved, the proposal has to go to USDA, and they have to sign off on it before that work's completed and any expenditure is incurred, just so they know that it falls within the USDA budget and the funds are there for that. So that's not the case with all types of financing, but that.
So the USDA is going to be the oversight on this project?
They have a lot of oversight. I mean, obviously, we have to
It's
do
not going to be like council,
yeah,
oversight.
we have to do
USDA.
well, a lot of it's the USDA. We obviously have some of our own responsibilities, and we've got to facilitate getting information and submit it to USDA. But USDA does exercise a lot of oversight because they're, the main source of funding in the project. Yes.
Moving on to item E, on behalf of Governor Tom Wolf, I'm pleased to inform you that the Department of Community and Economic Development, DCED, has approved a grant in the amount of $313,907 for the City of Monessen. These funds are provided through the Department's 2020 Community Development Block Grant Program, and that is from Secretary Dennis Davin, and again, that's for the CDBG program that we get every year. The funds are always a year delayed, so that's why it's for fiscal year 2020. And then item F, on behalf of Governor Wolf, it is my pleasure to inform you that the DCD has approved a grant in the amount of $36,450. These funds are provided through the Department of Strategic Management Planning Program, and that is also from Secretary Davin. And as I mentioned, that will go to training for the Zoning Board, Planning Commission, Blight Board, and will go to work on digitizing the code office and developing a blight strategy. And then again, based on public documents from the U.S. Senate, the City of Monessen is expected to receive roughly $715,000 from the American Rescue Plan as passed by Congress and signed by the President. We don't know when we will get that money. We don't know if any of the details will change, but that's the estimate from the Senate. So it's in limbo until we get the money, or until they change their mind as to how we can spend the money.
And Mayor, my question, when the money comes in, does council have to account for what's being spent for everything?
Oh, yes.
I mean, I'm assuming we would, but what I'm getting to the point is, we would know ahead of time if this was a no-no and you can't do it or something like that.
That's what everyone's waiting on, for them to say what is allowed and what's not allowed. Right now, what's not allowed is payroll and pension. So.
Yeah, so your first disbursement is scheduled to come sometime in June. So you have some more time to think about it, and more importantly, the federal government has some time to get the guidelines in place for how you can spend the money. Right now, all we know is that there are 4 broad categories of what you can do with those funds. So whenever the money does come in, obviously I recommend you put it into a separate account just so it's easier to account for. Within those 4 categories, there's very little guidance at this point. Some of them are more restrictive than others. The third category, which is just general revenue replacement, is where you're going to have the most flexibility. So I think that it may make sense for the city to start generating breakdowns for 2019 year end, what your revenue line items for each line item is, and then for 2020 as well, because that's going to give you the sense of what you can use that revenue replacement category funds for, which is, like I said, where you have the most flexibility. But it's not clear as to whether, it's anything. It doesn't look like it's going to require pre-approval. So we have to be pretty confident that whatever it is that we're spending the money on is something that qualifies, so we don't get dinged with it and therefore have to pay that money back. But we are expecting there to be pretty good guidance coming out of the Treasury Department at the federal level to be able to provide municipalities with guidance on exactly what they can and can't do with the funds.
And Tim, have they come out with a timeline of saying you have to spend the funds by such and such a time?
They are. It's thankfully we have a long time. It's 2024.
I think it's 24.
I don't think it will take that long.
So 2024, I forget, I think maybe it's June of 2024, but it's some month in 2024 of when the money has to be spent by. If it's not, it has to be turned back over to the federal government. Actually, to the state.
Tim, I was reading about it, and I understand that they use population to disperse the funds. We already got 715,000, and McKeesburg got $26 million. there's a discrepancy there. They're only 3 times the size of us. It's 21,000, and they got 26 million, and their annual budget is 22 million. I don't understand.
The city of
Yeah.
McKeesport?
I thought it
So
might have
is-
been the school
So
district, but it's the
is
city.
there going to be changes in this? There's going to be a lot of changes, because when a community of that size gets that much money, something's wrong. And you have Ross Draper got 2.5 million, and they're not that much larger than us.
Maybe like, not even double,
Yeah.
they're like 11,000, 12,000.
So I have a little problem with the amount of money. But I'm sure we'll learn, because as the large cities get into here and start to battle, a lot of things are going to change.
And there's talk too that, on that note, that some of the categories are too restrictive, and so they may want to loosen up some of what the restrictions are for you guys to be able to spend those funds. So, but we'll monitor that to make sure.
What I find difficult, if you mentioned about not having payroll, that's where we assumed a lot of cost because of people being out with COVID. We had to absorb those costs. And I don't know if it said anywhere about payroll, but that's one place we need help with.
There are limited, there's 2 categories that your payroll, there are some limited payroll expenses to fall under. So if they were specifically payroll expenses related to COVID, so overtime and things like that that were related to COVID, people had to call off and more vacation or sick time, that could potentially qualify for reimbursement. The other one is if you had to offer going forward employees some sort of premium pay because they're working more hours or whatever, that would also qualify. Now, I'm not necessarily recommending that. The third one is that catch-all category, which is revenue replacement, and that's why you want to take a look at that. Those revenue replacement funds can be used to supplement payroll, it appears currently. So that's why you may want to look at that to see. That's where you're going to find the most flexibility.
Until we get the final, we really...
Yeah, to put something here.
Okay.
Item H, the next Farmers to Families food distribution will be on Friday, April 23rd at the boat launch from 9 to noon. Really, it's 9 until we run out of food, which is sometimes noon or sometimes 2 p.m., so it's depending on how many. We'll have about 950 boxes of food on the 23rd. So, yeah, as of right now, that's the last one. It's open to everyone. There's no restrictions or anything. So they're really nice boxes. There's milk, yogurt, cheese, usually hot dogs and chicken, and apples, potatoes, and onions. So I don't know how they cram all of it into a little box, but they do. And then item I, we have the minutes from the Environmental Advisory Board from February 10th. We have the Shade Tree Commission minutes from February 10th and the Shade Tree Commission minutes from March 10th for council and anyone to review. And we don't have any old business, so I will hand it over to the Treasurer, Jerry Saxon, for his report.
Mayor Matthew Shaw and Council. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a report from the Treasurer's Department dated April 13th, 1921 for the month of March. Garbage fees current. Collected in March, $21,365. Year-to-date, $286,009.94. Budgeted amount was $370,000. Delinquent garbage, $17,483.06. The amount collected by Portnoy was $5,930.48. Year-to-date, delinquent collected $44,445.18. Collected by Portnoy, $15,022.60. Budgeted amount, 2021 delinquent, $120,000. And interest and penalties collected by Portnoy, $1,325.74. Collected by Portnoy for the month is $7,256.22. Housing Authority quarterly. We received nothing this quarter. Year-to-date, $15,258.75. Budget amount, $80,000. Total budget amount for 2021, $570,000. Garbage fees collected for 2021, March, $30. Year-to-date, $715.20. Budget amount, $60,000. City real estate taxes revenues collected month of March, $396,759.35. Year-to-date, $396,759.35. The 2021 budget amount for the real estate taxes collected, the general fund was going to receive $1,457,000. Debt service fund received $500,000. Parks, $250,000. Library fund, $50,000, for a total of $2,257,000. Delinquent city taxes. City taxes collected prior year by the city for March, nothing. Year-to-date, $3,612.14. The budgeted amount for 2021, $9,100. No taxes were collected by Portnoy this period. City taxes collected by Westmoreland County Thames Plaque Bureau, March, $43,750.20. That's year-to-date, same amount, $43,750.20. Budget amount, $210,000. Total year-to-date taxes, $444,121.69. City real estate taxes distribution. The general fund received $286,701.51. Debt service fund received $98,387.61. Parks received $49,193.81, and the library received $9,838.76 for a total of $444,121.69. Real estate transfer tax. In March, we received $4,839.92, or 98 cents. Year-to-date, $18,021.66. Budgeted amount is $60,000. Earned income tax. March, we received $67,131.49. Year-to-date, $151,207.21. Budgeted amount, $650,000. Mercantile tax. March, we received $1,190.14. Year-to-date, $2,059.27. 2021 budgeted amount, $28,000. Mercantile, local service tax. March, we received $576.22. Year-to-date, $15,164.79. Budgeted amount, $77,000. Tax certifications. March, we received $2,460. Year-to-date, $5,250. 2021 budget amount, $22,000. Municipal lien letters. March, we received $2,100. Year-to-date, $3,975. Year-to-date budget amount, $16,500. Tax collectors report for the month, for the reporting district for the month of March 2021, Monessen City Taxing District. Mayor, I'm not going to submit this report. I'm finding a $1,000 differential between the real estate and its supplemental, and I have to get clarification on this. But total for the amount reported is $396,759.35. Next month I will have a clarification on the discrepancy. That concludes my report, Mayor. I need a motion.
Motion to approve the treasurer's report as read. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Question, Jerry, what is our millage for Monessen? What does 1 mil?
That I don't have. Your financial department should have that.
The cost for
I
1 mil.
referred that question to John. You have the millage amount?
Cost for 1 mil.
I don't remember. I know it was $51,000 and it went up to 58, so I'm not sure exactly.
So a mill will run about, say, $60,000?
Yeah, 58, 60,000.
Okay, say $60,000, so 6 mills would be $360,000, not $500,000?
300,000.
It'd be 360,000, not 500,000. Thank you.
Is that okay, Tom?
Yeah, that's good enough.
Call the roll.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
And Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. Controller Rosalie Nixon.
Mayor and members of council, the general fund community bank checking account, bank reconciliation as of March 31st, 2021. The beginning balance as of February 28th, 2021 was $148,938.78. Amount deposited was $586,629.62. Expenses, $457,287.17. The ending balance as of March 31st, 2021 was $278,281.23. Outstanding checks, $1,731.37. Outstanding deposits, $46,332.56. The reconciled balance to the bank statement is $322,882.42. That's my report.
Thank you. Moving down to new business, this item A is not a motion, but Resolution 10 of 2021 of the City Council of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, to adopt an amendment to the official sewage facilities plan. The binder is over on the counter in the code office for public review through April 30th, 2021, and this resolution will be voted on at the May 11th council meeting. And that was mentioned in the USDA email as well. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 11 of 2021, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Monessen approving the program modifications to the fiscal year 2017 and fiscal year 2018 Community Development Block Grant Program. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Just to clarify, this is the money that was left over from previous paving projects, and then this money will go into the pot for, along with 2020's money, in order for us to pave Euclid Drive from Grand Boulevard to Crest Drive. Call the roll.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes.
I just have a question. Since we reallocated that money, do we have on schedule when the second half of McKee will be done? Because that was in the original plan to have that done the following year with the CDBG.
The gas company is planning on replacing a line there
Okay.
at some point this summer. I believe the pavement will start somewhere near Newness of Life Church and go all the way around up 4th Street to the viaduct. So we'll just have to pave basically the intersection to connect the two. I don't know what that cost will be, but some point this summer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because they were asking because they knew that was supposed to be done with the second.
Yeah, the gas
But
company.
that's fine, I understand that you have to do it.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
they
if
were
they're gonna tear it up anyway,
Right, I agree. I
Um,
was just asking because there were people in McKee
Yeah.
asking why their half wasn't.
it needs done for sure. And I think they asked John if they had to replace the bricks, and I think he was basically like, not if you pave it. So
They don't want bricks.
no, that would be a pain. So yeah, that is still happening. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 12 of 2021, an agreement entered by and between the Housing Alliance of Pennsylvania and the City of Monessen. Is there a second?
Second.
And this is for the grant, the Strategic Management Planning Grant that I mentioned will go to help the Zoning Board, the Planning Commission, the Blight Board, and the Code Department. Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 13 of 2021, a resolution of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, establishing amounts for fees relating to permits, licenses, inspections, and other various matters. Is there a second?
Second.
And we talked about this last week. In the previous resolution, which I don't have a copy of here, in the resolution, it was stated that the city administrator at the time will collect all fees and issue all permits, and that is not proper procedure when we have a treasurer's department and a city treasurer. It also said that the administrator would be responsible for, or that there would be no fees waived or discounted, and that the administrator would be responsible for all of that. So I included in this resolution, as per Ordinance 2 of 2011 of the City of Monessen, the Monessen Treasurer's Office shall collect and process all monies as related to, and any and all fees and payments to be made to the City of Monessen. In addition, the Treasurer's Office shall have discretion on offering discounted fees or the waiving of fees for use of public property. The City Treasurer may, in their discretion, forward requests for parks use to the Mayor and City Council for consideration and action when the request involves a non-routine activity, an area of the park not routinely subject to reservation, or the use of an area at non-routine time of day or for an extended period of time. So that resolution was in conflict with our ordinances. So this is fixed. And then, of course, the schedule is attached. I added the vacant property fee, which we adopted that ordinance last year. And I'm also proposing that the cost of pavilion rentals at all the parks and the City Park Amphitheater be cut in half, because residents repeatedly complained about the cost when they could go to Cedar Creek Park and pay much less for a much nicer, much larger pavilion. So City Park is not, or any of the parks for that matter, are not Idlewild, and they're not meant to make money. The rentals are to reserve the pavilions. Anyone could go up there at any time. You want to have a picnic with your family, you can use the facilities. The reservation is if you're having an event and you need to guarantee that that spot is yours and there's nothing else going on, that's what the reservation is for. And I think there's a lot of miscommunication with the public about that and how that works. So just to reiterate that, they're public facilities, so they're there to be used. So yeah, that's any questions on the resolution?
Just a question there. Under the pavilions and the City Park Amphitheater rental, where we can permit liquor?
Yeah, we always have. There's a liquor permit. Yeah. Call the roll.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. Okay, item E, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1232, the final reading, an ordinance of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, establishing a Youth and Young Citizens Board by and for the City of Monessen, providing definitions, establishing a board purpose, duties, qualifications, requirements, and procedures, establishing long-term goals, and providing for an effective date. Is there a second?
I'll second.
And since there were a lot of people here tonight that weren't here when we talked about this last month, there is a survey that goes out with the students every other year for every other grade, from 7th to 12th grade. And for the last 20 years, the students repeatedly say that there is a disconnect between the community and the kids. And it's obviously a problem because we want the kids to have a reason to want to stay here and, you know, continue on, pay taxes, become members of the community, and they can't wait to get out of here. And that's a problem. And so this is an effort to connect to them. The board will be structured where there are 7 members. 2 members are young adults, 2 members that are either juniors or seniors in high school, 2 members that are retired or current educators, and 1 at-large community member. And it's basically to promote the well-being of the kids. And the task of the board will be to work with all the other organizations that already exist in the city that serve the youth to kind of come up with a concerted effort to do something to help them. So this will involve the youth more actively in local government and in the community as a whole, outside of the city or outside of the school district. You know, when they're not in class in a normal year, obviously things are weird right now, but in a normal year when they're not in class, and over the summer when they're not in class, it's our duty to do what we can. So I think that this will help guide that, hopefully. Call the roll.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Cole?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Grigor?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 1233, the final reading, and ordinance of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending ordinance 15 of 1971, ordinance 708, that should read amending ordinance 3 of 2018, ordinance 1207, establishing duties, procedures, and a purpose for a recreation board by and for the City of Monessen, providing terms, regulating membership, repealing inconsistent ordinances, and providing for an effective date. Is there a second?
Second.
And again, this ordinance is to put on paper the process for civic center rentals, the process for membership of the recreation board, establishing duties and a purpose for the recreation board. None of that was in writing before, and the former ordinance did not fall in line with city code. It's also expanding the board from 5 members to 7 members, and also adding 2 youth members, juniors or seniors at the school, to be non-voting members on the board. And it will also add the opportunity for the school district to have they can request to council to have a school district liaison for the board as well, for the school board. Yeah. Any comments? Call the roll.
Councilman Cole?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Grigor?
Aye.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to conduct the first reading of ordinance 1234, an ordinance of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, permitting the operation of mobile food vehicles in certain locations within the City of Monessen, establishing rules, regulations, and operating procedures for mobile food vehicles, establishing permitting, enforcement, and inspection procedures, fees, violations, and penalties for mobile food vehicles, and providing for an effective date. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Just the first reading.
Yeah, this is just the first reading, and just because there was a question about it earlier, there is an okay, thanks. There is an application process, so anyone who has a mobile food vehicle would apply for the permit through the code office. There are inspections and fees that the code office would undertake. They have to have their own insurance and that sort of thing. The code enforcement officer and or the police department would manage this, since the police typically manage on-street and off-street parking. The permitted area will be on a public street or public property in mid-downtown. So that would be from 1st Street to 12th Street, excluding alleyways. Obviously, it's too narrow for alleys. Also, any food trucks wishing to operate in any location within the city must seek written approval from the city. They will be able to operate, this was one of Ernie's questions, they will be able to operate in any public park between 7 a.m. and 9 p.m., but they will not park or stand in any grassy area or other area besides a paved or gravel lot intended for such use. They cannot stop to serve customers within 250 feet of any principal customer entrance to any restaurant or food establishment. So obviously, when the coffee shop opens at Old City Hall, they're not going to be parked right next to the coffee shop. It's in here, and again, that would just be bad business practice and really rude. So this governs the food trucks. Again, there's a permitting process for it. The code office can set a limit on the total number of permits, enforcement and violations. So right now, like I said, we don't have anything either way on the books for something like this, and it seems to be more and more common. So that's why I'm proposing this ordinance. Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Grieger?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. Item H, ordinance, I'd like to make a motion to conduct the first reading of ordinance 1235, an ordinance of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, establishing regulations for the installation and maintenance of fire alarms and other certain alarm systems, establishing penalties for false alarms, and providing for an effective date. Is there a second?
Second.
Councilman Greger, do you want to touch on why this is important?
Well, specifically, it's because we're getting in a situation that over the years, we've had multiple false alarms at the same location. And sometimes it's just because the owner of that property has refused to properly maintain or repair the alarm system. This is a way to make them take care of it. Also, we're getting, I'm not quite sure how to put it, false alarms are somewhat malicious. Someone pulls an alarm, and after 3 or 4 times, people kind of quit responding on these calls because they don't take them seriously any longer. And that could be a very dangerous situation. A few years back, we had an alarm at a high-rise, and everybody kind of was taking their time responding on the call. And then we get down there, and it was a fully involved apartment. Fortunately, we made a good knockdown on it at the time, but you know, when you're at 3 o'clock in the morning and an alarm comes in, you want to make sure that it is a legitimate call.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Grieger?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to conduct the first reading of ordinance 1236, an ordinance of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, requiring the identification of and registration of the owners, landlords, individual sellers of real property, optioners, lessors, agents, and tenants of any unit or property occupied by anyone other than the property owner in the city, providing for definitions, reestablishing a fee and requisite information, and providing for a penalty for the violation thereof, requiring the obtaining of a license for all rental units in the city, providing for the suspension and revocation of licenses, requiring the payment of licensing fees, imposing liability, and providing penalties for violations thereof, governing the occupancy of real property or separately secured portions thereof within the City of Monessen, providing penalties for the violation thereof, and repealing Ordinance 6 of 2001, Ordinance 1045, Ordinance 1 of 2003, Ordinance 1059, Ordinance 6 of 2012, Ordinance 1172, Ordinance 3 of 2014, Ordinance 1158, Ordinance 7 of 2016, Ordinance 1202, and all provisions of existing ordinances and amendments in conflict therewith, and providing for an effective date. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
So to summarize that really long intro, the city has had multiple iterations of ordinances on the books. Many of you probably are aware of it as the landlord fee that we send out every year. And so it's confusing because it goes out to people who don't consider themselves landlords in situations where family members are living in a property and the owner isn't living in a property, or you have some other situation where anyone other than the owner is living in this property. So This is going to, first of all, clarify it by calling it the tenant and occupancy registration as opposed to the landlord fee. It also, basically everything that is in here remains the same as all of the previous ordinances, but it combines it all into one ordinance. And also, because we've had a lot of comments about it, and this was done in the past but was never put into an ordinance, at least none that I could find, I included a familial exception. So I'll just read this. In the case where an immediate family member or of the property owner is regularly occupying said property, there shall be no annual occupancy fee. However, the property owner must provide proof of familial status by submitting a certification statement that is signed by both the property owner and the family member or members who are occupying the said property. Such certification must affirm that the property owner and occupant are immediate family members, and such certification must, upon signing, be notarized by a notary public and submitted to the city code enforcement officer with any applicable forms. Those property owners who use the family exception are still required to submit the property registration forms with the applicable information as mentioned in sections 4 and 6 of this ordinance. And then in regards to the fees, $25 if the owner lives in Monessen or maintains its principal place of business within Monessen, $100 if the owner has a designated property manager who resides within the city, $150 if the owner has a designated property manager who resides outside of the city within 5 air miles outside of the borders of the city of Monessen, so obviously the immediate neighboring municipalities, and $250 a year if the owner resides outside of the city and has not designated a property manager who resides within the city, or if said property manager resides more than 5 miles outside the border of the city of Monessen. Those are the only things that have changed, and then looking at all the other ordinances, there were a lot of redundancies. I mentioned that at last month's meeting. This is a lot, so council should take a look at this too. Like I said, this is the first reading, but those are the two changes. Having 5 different ordinances for this one thing, I think was confusing for the code office. It was confusing for residents to try to follow along on what they should do and how to submit all of this information. So this is streamlining it. Any questions?
Matt, Todd's going to be aware of all this, right?
Yeah, he looked at it.
He's aware of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Call the roll.
Councilman Traeger? Aye. Councilman Rosakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to conduct the first reading of Ordinance 1237, an ordinance of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, amending Ordinance 11 of 2020, Ordinance 1222, regarding requirements for the registration of vacant, abandoned, and foreclosed real property within the City of Monessen and providing for an effective date. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We also talked about this last week. We found some loopholes in the ordinance from last year. One of them, not just loopholes, but also just some things that weren't covered. So section 1A and 1B, those are all the same, copied from the original ordinance. Section 12, item 2, I included a provision about if the owner has recently died and the estate, family, or other official and legal designee is actively cleaning the property and preparing it for sale, estate sale, or other related event, that would be a one-time waiver or exemption because people need time to do that, and the original ordinance didn't cover that. And then item 3, any and all vacant properties in the city shall not be exempt from this ordinance or the fees associated with it if the property is being used as a storage unit, especially where said property is not zoned for such use. We had a lot of people just coming back and saying, oh, I have this vacant house, but I'm using it as storage. That it's not a garage, it's not, it's a residence, so that is not an exemption. And then properties that are vacant, but that are actively and regularly maintained, kept up to code, and that have no property taxes, utility liens, or other payments owed to the city shall be exempt from the annual vacant property fee for a duration of time not to exceed 3 years. So that one, if someone is trying to decide what to do with their property, if it's vacant, but they're taking care of it, they're paying their taxes, they're paying anything else that they owe, and they're just kind of waiting to figure out if they're going to sell it or rent it or whatever, that would be an exemption, but again, the cap is 3 years. So they eventually have to do something with it so that it doesn't remain vacant. And the whole purpose of this and the overall ordinance is just to like dissuade people from sitting on vacant properties. And that includes vacant lots as well. Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the Mon Valley Opioid Coalition request to hold the annual National Night Out in Monessen City Park on Saturday, October 16th, 2021, from 2 to 5 p.m. And they do mention that they plan to have a Halloween-themed event, and they welcome anyone from Monessen to participate. And they will ensure that all of the CDC guidelines that are in place at that time will be followed for the event. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the placement of 2 little free libraries at 9th Street Park and City Park by the Monessen Community Development Corporation, MCDC, at no cost to the city. Is there a second?
A second.
We placed the one I'm also on the board for MCDC. We placed a little free library in the little strip of grass across from Foodland where the Schooner Center is, and there are a lot of books in there. I've seen them rotated in and out, so it seems to be pretty successful. I think it would be nice to have one up at City Park and 9th Street Park. I know that some people are like, well, we have a library, but the library is not always open. You know, if you're close by, you don't want to watch the library, you're at the park, you want to read a book, it's another opportunity.
Can we donate books?
Oh, absolutely.
How
Yeah.
would you go about doing that?
You could, once it's up, anyone could just go and put books in there if it's not full. So for anyone that's not familiar, how it works is, it's a little glass box, and if you go down Donner, you'll see the one by the Schooner Center. So if you want to put a book in there or a couple books, you could put a book, you could take a book. You could keep the book, or you could put the book back when you're done with it. It's basically just like a book exchange. So
I have several thousand books I could donate.
I don't think that many will fit in it, but we might have to build a few more if you want to get rid of all of them.
I'm
But
not kidding.
I believe
I
you.
have quite a few
And
books.
that's been the biggest comment from people when we talk about them. They're like, can I give you books? You're probably the 4th person that's asked. So I think it will be used, especially at the parks. And I just wanted to also mention, while I'm thinking of it in regards to the parks, that there's a waiting list for benches for the parks, but Lois and I were going back and forth on an email, and we did order 4 benches, 2 for 6th Street Park, 2 for 9th Street Park. There's a 23-week wait for them, so eventually this year there will be benches up there so people can sit and actually read a book at 9th Street Park. So, but in regards to this, again, we're going to build them, and we're asking permission to install them, MCDC. So, yeah, any questions? Call the roll.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. Item M, or I should just say, to cover them all, items M, N, O, and P are all in regard to the grant through the county to do these demolitions. So I'll just say that to cover all of them, so I don't have to repeat myself. I'd like to make a motion to approve the release and right of entry agreement between the Redevelopment Authority of the County of Westmoreland and the City of Monessen, tax map ID 2002060802, 523 6th Street, Monessen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the release and right of entry agreement between the Redevelopment Authority of the County of Westmoreland and the City of Monessen, tax map ID 2002070287, 500 to 502 3rd Street, Monessen. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the release and right of entry agreement between the Redevelopment Authority of the County of Westmoreland and the City of Monessen, tax map ID 2002070288, 504 3rd Street to 506 3rd Street, Monessen. Is there a second?
Matt, are these all houses?
Yes, these are the two duplexes on 3rd
Right,
Street
that-
that are
the
collapsing.
orange one, yeah.
Mhm, the orange one and the blue one.
Right.
Is there a second?
Second.
Question, other question? Call the roll.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. And then I'd like to make a motion to approve the release and right of entry agreement between the Redevelopment Authority of the County of Westmoreland and the City of Monessen, tax map ID 2002080155, 533 Ontario Street, Monessen. Is there a second?
Second.
This is the apartment building on the corner of Ontario and where Shawnee and Indiana connect. Call the roll.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes.
Tell them it's $100,000.
$100,000 worth of demolition from the county. And the county does all the bidding and the work themselves. Last year, we received $25,000.
Who picked the location?
What's that?
Who picked the location?
John and I, in talking with the city engineer, based on the properties collapsing. So Ontario, that one, the roof collapsed. Yeah, the roof is in the basement. The 6th Street property next to the former Sons of Italy, the roof collapsed in the middle. And the two duplexes on 3rd Street are collapsing. One of the porches is about to be in the street if they don't demolish it soon. So,
And they're the most costly that we have. That's the reason why we went that way.
I'd like to make a motion to approve quitclaim deed by and between the City of Monessen and the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Monessen for the parcel ID number 2002060553, known as 908 Locust Avenue. Is there a second?
Can you explain quitclaim deed so in case there's...
Yeah, I just need a second first.
Okay.
I'll second.
So it's a type of deed, if you want to,
Yeah, so.
I don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, because it's kind of a not word people are used to.
Right.
It essentially is a deed that transfers the title that the city has in the property to the redevelopment authority, for then the redevelopment authority to transfer that on to a subsequent purchaser. It's characterized as a quitclaim deed just because the city hasn't gone through and done a complete title search, hasn't made sure that, there aren't any other potential, liens or issues with the property, just because the city acquired it through typically the repository sale. So, the city doesn't want to incur the expense of doing a quiet title action or anything to make sure the property is clear. In most cases, because they were acquired from a repository sale, that's going to extinguish any liens or existing claims or taxes on the property. But obviously, the city would always urge property owners to do their own independent title review before acquiring a property from the city or from any other party. But that's the function of a quitclaim deed.
And these are all lots.
One more, Tim. What is the release and right of entry?
So the last four was an agreement. Essentially, The redevelopment authority for the county wants to make sure that the city is okay with them going in and doing that demolition. And then also, because, they want to make sure there's no duplication of efforts and expense there. The city's also agreeing that the city, and it seems obvious, but the city is not going to demolish that structure themselves, just so that there's not two people paying two contractors to line up a demolition. So we obviously have to keep that in mind on our end, that now that's going to be turned over to the county redevelopment authority to demolish. So we do not want to incur any additional expense or line up a contract to have that property demolished on the city's behalf.
And last year when the county did the one on 3rd Street, at the end of 3rd Street across from the French Club, it was down like in 2 days. So they're pretty quick with this. I don't know what the turnaround for these will be, but they were pretty quick. Call the roll.
Councilman McGregor?
Aye.
Councilor Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Councilor Coles?
Yeah.
Councilor Natalis?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve quitclaim deed by and between the City of Monessen and the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Monessen for the parcel ID number 2002070440, known as 221 Aliquippa Avenue. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions? Call the roll.
Councilor Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Councilor Coles?
Yes.
Councilor Natalis?
Yes.
Councilor McGregor?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve quitclaim deed by and between the City of Monessen and the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Monessen for the parcel ID number 2002070155, known as 408 Motherwell Avenue, and parcel ID number 2002070156, known as 404 Motherwell Avenue. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions?
I just have a question. We're doing these quick claims, so I take it you guys have met the redevelopment authority and they said that they would take over these?
These are empty lots that people
Right, and so
want.
they- right.
Yeah, it's like all of the other empty
Okay,
lots.
so these are lots, all of them,
Mm-hmm.
side lots?
Yeah, like, so Motherwell, for example, there's a guy that lives in, I forget what the address is, but in this house, and then the subsequent 2 empty lots the city owns, he wants them as a side yard. So, and then he'd of course have to,
Maintain.
You're right. Call the roll.
Councilor Coles?
Yes.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
Councilor Gregor?
Aye.
Councilor Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve quitclaim deed by and between the City of Monessen and the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Monessen for the parcel ID number 2002060555, known as 709 9th Street. Is there a second? Questions? Call the roll.
Councilor Coles?
Yes.
Councilor Thomas?
Yes.
Councilor McGregor?
Aye.
Councilor Wojciechowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. Item U, this is, this came from Mr. Strawn, so I'm just going to read this. He's making a proposal to purchase parcels of land for the purpose of beautification. I'm currently the owner of the following properties: 470 Donner, 1017 Knox, and 533 6th Street. I have a vision for a beautiful greenhouse to be located at this location soon. My priority will be keeping up the properties clean and bring them up to standards of code. I have full support of my neighbors and all who border these properties. I would appreciate a vote of confidence from City Council. I look forward to getting started on making this small part of the city greater than it has ever been. So we talked about this last week, and I mentioned that we needed something in writing from him. So I feel like this is sufficient for me. I don't know if I want to speak for all of you, but so I will make a motion to approve the sale of the following 7 properties to Kareem Strong through the Redevelopment Authority of the City of Monessen on quitclaim deeds. All of the properties are vacant lots that are all in a row. 2002-06-0164, 1004 to 1006 Knox Avenue, 2002-06-0165, 1000 to 1002 Knox Avenue, 2002-06-0166, 513 10th Street, 2002-06-0171, 525 10th Street, 2002-06-0175, 508 to 510 10th Street, 2002-06-0176, 512 to 514 10th Street, and 2002-06-0189, 516 10th Street. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions?
I only have one question.
Uh-huh.
The 165, the 1000 to 1002 Knox Avenue.
Uh-huh. To approve the boundary line adjustment plan, proposed property swap prepared by CZ Surveys and Land Development LLC for George Frizzell relating to parcels ID number 2002070098 and 2002070099 dated April 5th, 2021, to authorize the submission of such plan to the City and County Planning Commissions for approval, to authorize the recording of such approved plan, to accept the adjustment of the boundary lines as shown therein, and to authorize and approve the mayor, city administrator, and city clerk to take such steps as may be necessary to effectuate such action. Is there a second?
I'll second.
So George Frizzell owns the gym on 6th Street and Motherwell, and the city owns the lot next door where Motherwell Park was built. And basically, our property line goes through the middle of his building, and his property line goes through the middle of our park. So he wants us to adjust the property line so they're not running through each other, which makes sense. So we have the proposal here. Are there any questions?
For council, just so you guys know what you're looking at, just to make sure the dotted kind of dashed line is the current dividing line, and so the new line that's kind of right there would be the proposed, yeah.
Will that just be an agreement, basically?
Yeah,
There won't be a
that's,
cost or anything like this, the basic agreement?
Yeah, he would have to incur the cost of, this would have to go through a process where it gets approved and then ultimately recorded. He would be incurring that cost, and in exchange for the city giving up a portion of the one lot that the building is presently on that he owns, we would get a portion of his existing lot to kind of square up that end of the lot for us.
so our, what we're requiring would just follow the fence line, which I thought we owned in the first place. So we're not gonna have to really do anything. Call the roll.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the request of the Mon Valley Paws, formerly Puppy Up Monessen, to use the City Park walking track for a food truck festival on Saturday, June 5th, 2021. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
And by the time this festival rolls around, if we approve the food truck ordinance next month, that would be in effect by their June planning date. Any questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve the municipal fire chief request to purchase the following item: 93 each of Draeger 4500 PSI 45-minute SCBA cylinders, blue, $691 each, for a total of $64,263. Is there a second?
Okay.
We talked about this last week. Their tanks are 15 years old, or 17 years old. They expire at 15. It's a huge, huge risk that they're taking in general, and by having expired tanks, they're taking an even greater risk. So we really need to approve this, get them the tanks. It's going to, the reason why it says American Rescue Plan there, it's going to take several weeks, I believe, for the tanks to come in. So my hope is 6 to 8 weeks. So hopefully by then we will get the first disbursement of the money from Congress, so we can use that hopefully to offset the cost.
And this one, based on those categories under that stimulus plan, that does appear to pretty clearly be an approved expense for those stimulus funds, so.
Call the roll.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve a contract by and between the Teamsters Local Union 205 and the City of Monessen. The contract period is January 1st, 2021 to December 31st, 2025. And before I ask for a second, I want to go over this again since there are so many new people in the audience compared to last week. So the changes, can I have a second?
Second.
So the contract changes are as follows. Sick and accident benefit, $150 a week to $400 a week. Maternity considered an illness, per Cheryl at the local 205. There's no written summary of benefits explaining what is covered by this insurance. Cheryl stated that for maternity with completed forms from the doctor stating they can no longer work, the benefit starts on the 4th day after the last day worked. All other sick and accident issues with completed forms from the doctor stating they can no longer work, the benefit starts on the day after the last day worked, and each employee can purchase AFLAC maternity and must be in the program for 1 year before. New vacation with 12-hour shifts, less than a year service, no vacation, 1 to 4 years, 7 days, 5 to 9 years, 10 days, 10 to 14 years, 14 days, 15 to 19 years, 17 days, and 20 or more years, 20 days. Sick time, 120 hours annually. Personal days, 36 hours per year. Classification will go from a 5-step graduated scale to a 3-step scale. For new hires, it would be 90%, 95%, and then 100%. If no supervisor is available for a shift, the senior qualified officer on duty shall assume the supervisor's duties, and page sergeant rate for all hours worked as a supervisor. For Article 10, we eliminated the 5.11 language, which is just a type of uniform. All full-time officers shall reside within 25 air miles of the City of Monessen border. Officers can only work a maximum of an 18-hour shift. Bereavement and holiday will be paid during probation time, and the city agrees to supply new part-time officers with 2 short-sleeve uniform shirts, 2 long-sleeve shirts, and 2 pairs of uniform pants. The contract duration is January 1st, 2021, retroactively through December 31st, 2025. The police agreed to work 12-hour shifts, which they have been doing since November. Sick and personal and vacation paid in 12-hour shifts. Add sergeant to the ranks, $1 per hour increase per year for full-time officers. Captain will be $31.59 an hour, detective lieutenant $30.59 an hour, lieutenant $30.31 an hour, sergeant $29.59 an hour, and patrolman $28.87 an hour. Part-time $20 an hour plus 50-cent raise each year. Holidays, all full-time officers get paid an 8-hour holiday at regular pay rate. They must work the scheduled day before and after the holiday to receive the holiday pay. Full-time officers that work the holiday will also be paid 1.5 times their regular pay rate for the hours worked. Next, the health care, and this is what took so long with the negotiation, and I'm really pleased that we finally came to an agreement, and I think that we will fix a lot of the decades of issues that we've had with the health care with the police. The city shall provide health care insurance similar to or better than UPMC Small Business Advantage Gold PPO $2,500. City of Monessen is responsible for the health care insurance plan premiums and the in-network deductible of $2,500 per individual and $5,000 per family. All full-time officers will be required to pay $100 a month towards their health care insurance plan in the year 2021, $110 a month in 2022, $120 a month in 2023, $130 per month in 2024, and $140 in the year 2025. All full-time officers will be responsible for out-of-pocket medical expenses, including any co-pays. The city has the option to review CHIP program or city-provided health care insurance plan for coverage for children. Under either plan, your children will have health care coverage to age 26 unless they are working and have comparable coverage offered by their employer. This is only comparing coverage, not cost, even if the plan requires the department or the dependent to contribute to insurance costs. At that time, the city will be relieved of the obligation to provide insurance benefits to the dependent at any time prior to the dependent's 26th birthday if their work status changes and are no longer eligible to receive comparable health coverage from their employer. They can return to the city-provided health care. Any employee whose spouse is eligible for comparable health care insurance coverage with the spouse's employer, only comparing coverage, not cost, even if the plan requires the spouse to contribute to insurance costs, will no longer be eligible for coverage through the City of Monessen. The city will be relieved of the obligation to provide insurance benefits to the spouse. If the spouse's work status changes and are no longer eligible to receive comparable health coverage from their employer, they can return to the city-provided health care. On an annual basis, a spouse who seeks health care coverage through the city shall complete a verified statement on a form prepared by the city, which shall include the spouse's job status and availability for benefits. The spouse will agree to sign an authorization permitting the spouse's employer to provide information to the city regarding the spouse's health care benefit status. Receipt of coverage or receipt of benefits from the city by a spouse of a bargaining unit member in violation of this provision shall entitle the city to impose a surcharge upon the bargaining unit member and spouse in an amount equal to the amount expended by the city in the healthcare premiums and deductibles for the ineligible spouse during the period of ineligibility. Any bargaining unit member who is eligible to receive healthcare insurance coverage through another source and chooses to receive said coverage shall receive annually $5,000 in lieu of the city's healthcare insurance plan. The city shall make payments to the employee on their biweekly paycheck for choosing the alternative healthcare insurance coverage. And just a note, that will, and if people take that option, it is much cheaper than us paying for their coverage. Any full-time officer retiring after December 31st, 2020, obtaining a minimum 20-year service will remain eligible for coverage under the city's healthcare insurance plan until Medicare eligible. The city is responsible for the healthcare insurance plan premium and deductible only. The employee will be financially responsible for all out-of-pocket medical expenses, including any copays, and must pay the city the same current monthly contribution paid by the full-time active officers. The retiree will continue to pay his contribution amount for insurance per the contract rate. This payment is due on the first of every month. If the retired member's monthly insurance contribution is 60 days late, the insurance will be canceled and the city will be relieved of the obligation to provide future insurance benefits. Any employee whose spouse was eligible for health care insurance coverage with the city of Monessen prior to the employee retirement date will be eligible for coverage under the city's health care insurance plan unless they are eligible for comparable coverage under their employer, only comparing coverage not cost, or Medicare eligible. The city is responsible for the health care insurance plan premium and deductible only. The spouse is financially responsible for all out-of-pocket medical expenses, including any copays. The retiree will continue to pay his contribution amount for the insurance per the contract rate. This payment is due on the first of every month. If the retired member's monthly insurance contribution is 60 days late, the insurance will be canceled and the city will be relieved of the obligation to provide future insurance benefits. Upon member retirement, the city will be relieved of the obligation to pay for any of the employee's dependent children's insurance benefit costs. The retiree can continue coverage for their dependent children until the age of 26 at city premium cost and is responsible for all out-of-pocket medical expenses, including any copays or deductibles. Upon member retirement, the city will be relieved of the obligation to provide insurance benefits for any new family members. Should a retiree obtain employment from an entity that offers comparable insurance plans, only comparing coverage not cost, the city will no longer be responsible for healthcare, vision, or dental insurance coverage, no matter whether the retiree must pay for the coverage or does not accept the coverage. The city will be relieved of the obligation to provide for the retired employee and spouse insurance benefits. Should a retiree lose his health insurance plan with his post-retirement employer, he may return to the health insurance program offered by the city for a maximum of 7 years or until Medicare eligible. The city is responsible for the health care insurance plan premium and deductible only. The employee will be financially responsible for all out-of-pocket medical expenses, including any copays, and must pay the city the same current monthly contribution paid by the full-time active officers. The retiree will continue to pay his contribution amount for insurance per the contract rate. This payment is due on the first of every month. If the retired member's monthly insurance contribution is 60 days late, the insurance will be canceled and the city will be relieved of the obligation to provide future insurance benefits. At Medicare eligible age of the employee, the city will be relieved of the obligation to provide insurance benefits, including healthcare, vision, and dental to the employee and spouse. Upon the death of a member, whether pre or post-retirement, the city shall continue to pay the premium and deductibles for their surviving spouse and dependents for 3 years if they were eligible for healthcare insurance coverage before the death of the member. Officers retired prior to December 31st, 2020 will not be affected by these changes. And it is the employee's responsibility to provide accurate information to the city, to complete all necessary forms provided by the city, and to update their information if it changes. The city will not be held responsible for any issues that arise due to an employee's failure to fulfill any of the above obligations. I wanted to read that into the record because there was a lot of miscommunication with the health insurance at the end of last year, and I want to make sure that the retired police know that this is not affecting them. It's retirees going forward. We've had this revolving door for 30 years with all of these costs, and so while we did give, or in this agreement, are planning to give the police a raise and some of the things that they asked for in turn, they are letting us fix this health insurance situation. So, are there any questions? That was a ton of information, I know.
Question, and I hope you're okay, you can't really hear me with this on, but it says the full-time officers were responsible for out-of-pocket medical expenses, including any co-pays, but that is after the deductible, is that correct?
I believe so.
No, a copay is the $20 or $30 you go to the doctors.
But that doesn't apply to the deductible?
No, it does not.
Okay, just wanted to
And
make
if you
sure.
go pick up your prescription,
Well, yeah, of course, those, usually your drugs do not.
well, they're not paying for that themselves.
This is our city clerk, Cheryl Gordon, by the way, for any of you who might not know.
Yeah, so the only thing we're paying for is the deductible, which if they have a procedure, and in that procedure, say it was $500, the insurance will pick up, say, $395 of it. $105 of it may be your deductible. That's what the city will now pick up as that 105 deductible.
And what would, just for the record, what was it before?
We were picking up everything. Deductibles, co-pays, everything. The employees paid for nothing. And we just can't continue to do that and continue to survive as a community. You just can't continue to pay all that. So we kind of halved it up, and they were willing to do that, so.
I was just questioning, because I know even with our insurance, we have like $1,000 deductible, so even if we go see the doctors or what have you, until that deductible is met, we pay that full cost. It's not us, it's not just paying a copay, we pay the full cost, but you're saying they only pay a copay.
They're only paying the copay, we pay the deductible.
Not the full cost.
The deductible for a single person on this program is $5,000. I'm sorry, it's $2,500.
Right.
For a family, it's $5,000.
Correct.
So that's the most that the city will pay
Right, correct.
towards each, the insurances. Everything else is covered by the employee themselves.
Plus their monthly contribution.
Plus, they're giving us $100 a month to go towards that. That'll be deducted from their paychecks.
And how many officers does that include?
We have 10 officers and a chief.
That's not all 10 officers. How many officers does that fall under?
It doesn't fall under any of the current retirees.
Correct. So we pick up still 100% for retirees for past contracts.
Yeah, we can't
Yeah, the
get
past
out of that.
contracts.
That's part of the contract
I
that
know
was
that.
agreed in the
I know
past.
This is ongoing.
Yeah, this is anyone that retires after December 31st, 2020. So it's going forward. We can't do anything about the past because of past practice.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Grigor?
Aye.
Councilor Zakowski?
Yes.
Councilor Coles?
Aye.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to hire 2 full-time police officers, Zachary Powell and Justin Woodard. Is there a second?
I'll second.
These potential officers took the test sometime last fall. I believe they've been on the list for a while. And I made it clear that we would not hire anyone until the contract was approved. But again, we're probably going to have one of the part-time officers leaving. They're at least stepping off of the schedule at this time. And we're getting into vacation season. We don't want to accrue overtime costs again. And again, the city really should have, for its size, the chief says 17 full-time officers. I think 12 is the nice sweet spot for a city of our size. So that's why I'm making this motion.
It was my understanding that a lot of the funds to pay for these officers would be due to the increase in overtime, is that correct?
Yeah, going on to the 12-hour shift has really helped, and that was at their request.
So what will be the additional cost yearly for adding the officers?
With benefits plus salary, you mean?
Yes, just to add these 2 new officers. What's the additional cost in that?
I know the chief mentioned it. I don't know if Cheryl or John, I'm not sure.
Cost?
The cost of
It's
each
1.5
officer.
times the salary. If the salary's at 30,000, it's 45,000 total.
So you're
Per
looking at,
person.
yeah.
So
Benefits and,
90,000 then for 2.
So the salary, the starting patrolman rate would be $28.87, and then 20 for part-time.
Just had a question, we're hiring all these police officers. Are you ever planning on hiring any more street crew?
I would like
These
to.
guys are getting beat down and.
We advertised for it, so, yeah, we never interviewed, but I would like to. I don't know.
I think that should be put on the agenda too, because these guys need some help out there. They're getting beat down. I don't even know. You may want to consider. So we got to find some way to help these guys. There's a lot of work needs done in the city, but we can't do it because they don't have enough workers. They deserve to have at least a few more too. They've been working like this forever. Fine, we keep hiring policemen after policemen, but hey, come on, they're not even making as much as the policemen, but we can't add 1 or 2 more for them?
Really, if money were not an issue, there should be 12 of them.
Well, I understand that too. We're never going to meet that, but
No.
I'm just saying, you were hiring policemen. They're only starting out, what are they starting out now? About 12, 14? What are they starting out now? 950 or has it changed?
For police or you?
No.
Oh, I was going to say.
Street crew.
I don't remember. Is it 14?
Yeah, I think it was right. So,
Because the contract is.
right,
is
it was
up
right, it
again.
was changed.
No, I don't, I think it's like 17
17.
something.
Oh, okay. Is that the
It's
starting?
17.
Yeah, I believe it's 17.
And we're also going to speak, we've already talked to the AFSCME, and we're waiting for them to come back to us and see if they want to open up the contract. It expires at the December 31st this year, and if they want to open it up and negotiate now, then we'll start effective January 1st and go 5 years, just as we have with the
Because
Teamsters.
they do have a Me Too clause in the AFSCME contract.
Yes, and they do need to be increased. There's no doubt about it. We were far below the pay scale for office, for street department. The police, the issue with the police is we seem to be hiring police all the time because we keep losing police all the
To
time.
other departments.
And we're losing the experience, but every time you bring a new police officer on, you save a few dollars an hour, but you lose a lot of experience. And we don't want to get in trouble, and you need the experience. And because of vacations coming up, and we have some people that have to fulfill the Air Force agreement they have every year, we have to get some more police on, and hopefully we can hold them.
And I
so,
think it takes a
yeah.
month and a half to train them.
Right.
And I agree, we definitely do need more people on the street working. And I still have a way of doing it that won't cost us any money in our budget, but it will cost us some money as far as the taking down homes, other homes. So we'll have to decide what we want to do within the next month.
Since we're talking about the police, I have a question. What happened this past week is, I've got a lot of questions about it. Everyone asks me questions. My thing is there a policy? How do you leave your car unsecured?
Should we be discussing this in?
I'm just asking, I'm not asking, but I'm not mentioning no police guys or nothing. I'm just asking, what's the policy for leaving a police car either not locked or unsecured or what have you, that someone can take the car?
I think just common sense tells you you should turn it off.
Yeah, I understand you
Take
gotta
it
do
with
what you gotta
you.
do, but it just seemed,
But I think that
is
the,
there a policy for that?
We'll have to discuss it in executive session if you want to. I don't know all the answers either.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there was a policy for that. That just,
yeah, it's,
that was like.
I still have a lot of
eye-opener.
questions
Yeah.
with that as well. But thank goodness it was an abandoned house and not someone.
That's what I'm
someone's
saying. It could have been a lot
occupied
worse.
house, yeah.
So that's what I think. These are things that we need to discuss.
And all I will say, you probably know, but the people have been apprehended, so that's good. But
I
that's,
think
we'll
that's
have to
something
discuss
as a
it.
council we need to sit down and discuss.
yeah, what the problem is what you look at when it comes to insurance and uninsured people using vehicles and grand larceny. A lot of that comes into effect with this person who had no issue whatsoever and becomes the primary issue is stealing a police car. That's grand larceny, plus the police on top of it. So, yes, we were down, our brand-new car only had 12,000 miles on it, and right now we have approximately $24,000 worth of damage. And they're gonna fix it because it's under 50%. The car was 47,000. So, it's some of the things that go with the territory. And I would assume at the time, when he got out of the car and he had the lights flashing and everything, and all of a sudden somebody makes a break for it, he tries to stop him, and the other person, if he knew there was another person, I don't know if he knew it, she gets out of the car and gets in the car and takes off at 3:45 in the morning.
I got a question. You mean, you're talking about the car going the wrong way, right? Okay, I was told by the police department, your police department, like in Montreal, you see them going the wrong way, they said, that's nothing but a misdemeanor. They gave this poor lady a $20,000 bond, right? She's on bond for $20,000. So why is so different for downtown versus Montreal plant or any other street in Monessen?
She stole
She stole the car, and it's also.
Why is this, my question is simple. It proved to me that going the wrong way is wrong. It proved to me. So I don't need no cop telling me, or any secretary down in your office telling me, hey, it's just a misdemeanor. It's only a $50 fine. Or $25, whatever that is.
Those are the statutes are set.
All
We
I'm
can't
saying
control
is,
it.
That was for going for the
All
wrong
I can
way.
tell you
That
is
wasn't
this.
stealing a car
Well, the guy
and wrecking
also,
it.
the guy also had warrants.
when I came to this country, I couldn't read or write. But the Monessen taught me how to read and write. And one way is one way. For everybody, whether you're on top of the hill or whether you're at the bottom of the hill. But they treat it differently because this girl that got picked up, I'm not saying she was right, but it's on $20,000 bond and a whole bunch of trouble. But you see it up on Montreal go every effing time down there. And it's like a joke.
She stole the car.
It's like a joke. You guys telling me when I call, and I talk to the chief, and I talk to the girls at the phone, hey, call 911, don't call us. Why?
19 years old.
I will say just a general comment about the 911. I get messages and texts. The chief gets messages and texts. You know, hey, there's a drug deal going on. Hey, someone's doing this. I'm not 911 dispatch. So it has to officially go through 911 for it to be processed. So that's why.
We have a motion on it.
Hey, but
Yeah.
you cops
Could
are
we-
not on a drug chase every day, you know what I mean? When I call and they say that somebody's going the wrong way, believe me, I wish they would. But they
Yeah,
do.
you've done, you seconded
Yes,
it.
we have a motion.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Councilman Cole?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Grigor?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to hire one part-time officer, Brighton Laird. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? And again, I'll reiterate that there is a part-time officer that is planning on stepping back from the schedule, and I don't know if they'll be leaving or not due to personal issues. So obviously we'll have that vacancy. I think we're down to 2 part-time police officers currently, including that one.
They're only going to be, they'll be scheduled as needed.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
Call the roll?
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Marlon Wheeler from the Recreation Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll?
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Brandy Smith from the Recreation Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions? Call the roll?
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of Edward Lee from the Monessen Recreation Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions? Call the roll?
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes.
Why are all these people resigning? Did they close that up?
No, but we will talk about that at the end of the meeting. I'd like to make a motion to accept the resignation of April Kadish from the Library Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions? Call the roll?
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Dawn McKechnie to the Library Board. Dawn will fill April Kadish's vacant seat. She was previously on the board, filling the seat of Glenda McGrakis. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Questions? Call the roll?
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Joseph Bransma to the Youth and Young Citizens Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions? He would fill one of the young adult positions. Call the roll?
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. What's that? Did I skip one?
No, you're okay.
No, we did that. We did that, yeah.
Market, thank you. Sorry about that.
Yeah, we're on HH. I'd like to make a motion to appoint Joshua Lindsay as the at-large community member to the Blighted Property Review Board. The staggered terms to be determined by the appointee drawing a number at random. Is there a second?
I'll
Oh.
second.
Well, that's the one that was on there. I said that was the one. John mentioned that there are 2 other applicants for the Blighted Property Review Board.
Dawn McKechnie.
No, we're on item H. H. Any questions? Call the roll?
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Aye.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. And we have 3 applicants. The next item, II, JJ, and KK, we have 3 applicants for the 3 vacated Recreation Board positions, and council will find the applications as well as the clearances attached to the applicants. One of the, I don't know if it's the case for council's packet, but one of the applicants was inadvertently stapled to Resolution 13. So if you're missing one of the applications, that's where it is. It's stapled incorrectly on both. So I'd like to make a motion to appoint Carla Spangler to a vacant seat on the Monessen Recreation Board. Term duration to be determined by drawing a number at random. Is there a second? Questions?
Mayor, we advertised for these?
We did not. But considering all of the media frenzy around the Recreation Board, I think everyone knows that there are vacancies. And we will have 2 additional vacancies from the amendment, which, because it goes from 5 members to 7 members, so we will advertise for the 2 additional
But
vacancies.
if you're gonna take a motion to advertise for vacant positions, why don't you advertise for everything?
It's for the 2 new ones. Because summer is coming, and I want the Recreation Board to function.
Tim, is that correct? Or we can change the procedure in which we do that?
So the request city code doesn't require you to actually advertise them. I don't recall what your procedure was that you put
We
in place.
normally
with
advertise
the-
and interview.
We have not advertised for all of them.
Yes.
That was the step.
We have not advertised for all of the past board positions, and the Recreation Board needs to start planning for summer events. They are already months behind. Seeing as they have not done anything for 2 years, we need to fill the board. And then we need to appoint 2 additional members and the youth members so that they can function and so the Civic Center can function. Yeah, LL is, that should, and under LL, that should say new NEW, not NE.
So did the city ever pass a resolution or ordinance that required
Not
advertising?
that I could find.
We've advertised for everything. I just don't understand why we just can't advertise.
Well, again, people
They
are
apply.
aware of the vacancies because of the media frenzy that was created with all of the drama around the
That's
Recreation
still
Board.
beside the
Well,
point.
that's still
I mean, you
done.
have people that
You have
apply.
people that are interested.
Okay, just put it out there, and if nobody else does it, there's no problem.
There are still two positions. So,
No, you gotta be
That's not
consistent.
fair.
we
No, you
haven't
gotta be
been consistent. So if council would like to be consistent and create a resolution, that's great.
I'm just saying that's not fair, Matt. You know, not everybody gets the newspaper, not everybody follows Facebook.
Correct.
And so that's not true to saying that everybody's aware of the media fence.
I think they're quite aware.
No, that's not true.
And also, again, the
That's being
Recreation
hard
Board,
for.
we just appointed Dawn to the Library Board. So,
I didn't know anything about this. You guys already had this all set up.
no, people apply.
But this wasn't on our work group
You
last
are
week.
correct, but there are vacancies. So, a lot of the stuff on the agenda was not on the work session.
Right, and it should have been.
Well, if things come up between the week, maybe we should have work session and council meeting one day and then the next day. Call the roll.
Councilor Chakowski,
No.
Councilor Coles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas,
No.
Councilor Gregor,
Aye.
Mayor Sherrall.
Yes. Motion to appoint Mark Panacucci to a vacant seat on the Monessen Recreation Board, term duration to be determined by drawing a number at random. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions? Call the roll.
Councilor Coles,
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas,
No.
Councilor Gregor,
Aye.
Councilor Chakowski,
No.
Mayor Sherrall.
Yes. Motion to appoint Raynelle Mays to a vacant seat on the Monessen Recreation Board, term duration to be determined by drawing a number at random. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions? Call the roll.
Councilwoman Thomas,
No.
Councilor Gregor,
Aye.
Councilor Chakowski,
No.
Councilman Coles,
Yes.
Mayor Sherrall.
Yes. Motion to advertise for the 2 new remaining vacant positions on the Monessen Recreation Board. Is there a second?
I'll
Second.
second it.
Questions?
So Mayor, I do have a question. Again, we advertise for 2 new positions, but we don't advertise for people that are now vacancies. And you made it a point, and it's correct, you said, like Lois said, not everybody gets Facebook, not everybody gets the paper, not everybody gets everything else. Okay? But you had no problem taking the time and spending $1,400 and sending a newsletter out, because, quote, you said, not everybody gets Facebook, not everybody gets the paper, not everybody knows what's going on. So why did you put it in there?
Are you proposing to send 2,800 people a notice for vacancies?
Well, you could have put it in that, your little newsletter. You might have put that in there.
That was off topic for the topic of the newsletter. And we just added the positions by the amendment of the ordinance at the beginning of this meeting.
You can look at it the other way. For 2
So-
years, he saved you money by not being here.
So you can do it one way, but you can't do it the other way.
We need to fill the positions.
So advertise them.
We're advertising the 2 empty positions. So if you want people to apply, tell your friends to apply. Call the roll.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Chakowski?
No.
Councilman Coles?
Aye.
Councilman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to advertise for the vacant positions on the Monessen Youth and Young Citizens Board. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Yes.
Councilman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. So items N, N, O, O, and PP, a few months ago, you'll recall that council did an honorary name for a portion of 6th Street from Donner to the railroad tracks. And we also have several others throughout downtown. So to continue that, I have 3 items here. They're all related. The first one is tied to, if you recall at the work session, I mentioned that the MLB is funding a historic marker to be placed near, between 2nd Street and 1st Street, near where the Chateau Bar is, in commemoration of Josh Gibson. The other 2 are commemorative just for historic purposes, but especially item PP, I wanted to just say many of you knew Mr. Feldman and the work that he did with the youth in the city with the playgrounds and the recreation. He was in his late 90s, I believe, when he passed away, so I also remember him. So there is a portion of 9th Street that runs along the Civic Center. It used to be part of 9th Street. It's the side entrance to the Civic Center now, so that's what this is in reference to. So these next 3 are related to each other in that way, just as historic. It's a way to kind of honor local history and also to start to build placemaking in downtown, which is basically a term of making downtown more welcoming, making it interesting for people to visit. And street signs are obviously a very small thing that a lot of people don't pay attention to, but I think it's a positive thing. So I'd like to make a motion to approve a portion of an unnamed street between River Street and 2nd Street from Donner Avenue to its northern terminus, the honorary name Josh Gibson Way, and to purchase a sign stating such. Gibson hit the 2nd longest home run of his career out of Page Park and is a member of the National Baseball Hall of Fame. And this is that road that used to go under the tunnel. It's technically a public street. It doesn't have a name to it. Is there a second?
Second.
Questions? Call the roll.
Councilman Coles?
Aye.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. I'd like to make a motion to approve a portion of 8th Street from Donner Avenue to its northern terminus, the honorary name H. Dallas McCabe Way, and to purchase the sign stating such. McCabe was responsible for laying out the original plan of streets for Monessen in 1897, including downtown, and this intersection was the location of Monessen's first municipal office. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Question? Call the roll.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Gregor?
Aye.
Councilman Chakowski?
Yes.
And Councilman Coles is... And Mayor Sherrod?
It's a yes for me, but we'll wait for good. Gil, we have a motion on the floor. It's item, when you sit down, it's item 00. Towards the bottom there.
Okay.
00.
That was- You looking for a second?
No, I'm just looking for your
Need your
vote.
vote. Councilman Coles?
Aye.
Aye. Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. And then I'd like to make a motion to approve a portion of 9th Street from Donner Avenue to its northern terminus, the honorary name Fred Feldman Way, and to purchase a sign stating such. Mr. Feldman was responsible for decades of successful youth programming across the city of Monessen, and this stretch of road runs next to the Civic Center. Is there a second?
Couldn't you do any better than that, Tim?
What's that?
Couldn't you do any better than that for Mr. Feldman? He was like,
I mean, it would be great to do more stuff, so I'm open to any
I
ideas.
don't know, it just seems like such a teeny little.
Yeah, I mean, right now, there's nothing commemorating him, so it's something, but
He was so important.
mhm. I remember him when I was little, too.
Already
Yeah.
I'll second.
Questions? Call the roll?
Councilman Gregor? Aye. Councilman Orskowski?
Yes.
Councilman Coles?
Aye.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes. Police report for the month ending March. Parking permits, $375. Miscellaneous collection, $210. Total receipts from District Justice Office, $2,280.58. Total receipts collected from March 2021, $2,865.58. Some highlights from the call log. For March, we received 124 assist EMS, 13 animal complaints, 10 residential alarms, 19 assist fires, 14 assist other LEA, including code enforcement, 3 criminal mischief, 13 domestic complaints, 5 drug possessions, 13 fax requests for investigation, 16 fight of fray, 21 follow-up investigations, 36 fraud forgery, including internet fraud, 16 hearings, 12 identification checks, 144 miscellaneous calls for service, and 8 patrol checks, including county-owned property. We also had 48 registration checks, 15 suspicious person, auto, or circumstance, and 202 vehicle stops, 9 warrant checks or arrests, and 14 welfare checks. Total for the month, 837. Westmoreland County Department of Public Safety's total is 800, and our year-to-date total is 1,816. Arrests for March, we had 174 arrests. Year-to-date total is 303. Total miles, 5,587, with an average of 180.23 miles per day. Councilwoman Thomas.
Good evening, everyone. We now have the Streets Department report for March 2021. They emptied garbage cans throughout the downtown twice a week, answered 40 PA1 calls, put up signs throughout the city, cold patched several streets throughout the city, took out the planters downtown in preparation for the new ones, cut trees in City Park, picked up the litter throughout town, dug a ditch and filled it with gravel to catch the water runoff on Anna Street, fixed parking stalls at City Hall, trimmed the bushes and removed the light poles, helped the parks as needed. On the library report, they continue to operate within the code CDC guidelines, but they're planning on extending the hours. They're in the process of right now, Marcia is being trained on how to do podcasts, and she in turn will train the youth of the city if they're interested in learning how to do their own podcast. As far as the redevelopment authority, they continue to set aside lots to eligible residents throughout the city.
Thank you. Councilman Orzechowski.
Yes, Parks report. Cleaned the Civic Center when needed, painted the bathrooms at the City Park in Columbus, swept garbage at the soccer field, installed, is that doggy park?
Yeah.
At the walking track in the City Park, put up lights in City Hall and Civic Center, cut down some trees at the walking track at the City Park, and help the streets crew as always is needed. Thank you.
Councilman Gregor.
Code Enforcement Office financial report. Building permits for March, $2,436.60. Year-to-date was $5,970.32. Demolition permits for March was $100. Year-to-date, $100. Chicken permits was $50 for March, year-to-date $75. Street opening permits, $8,800 for March, year-to-date $16,800. Magistrate code enforcement for March, $619.14, year-to-date $716.35. Sign permits for March, $200, year-to-date $750. Eat and drink license, March, $75, year-to-date $150. Health inspections, year-to-date $150. Habitation permits, March, $790. Year-to-date, $4,440. Landlord fees for March, $6,740. Year-to-date, $15,115. Yard waste pickup for March was $25, year-to-date, $25. Line usage on sewage was $5,832, year-to-date was $8,568. Also, plumbing licenses year-to-date was $715. For March, the total was $25,667.74. Year-to-date, $53,574.67. Code enforcement activity. Habitation permits was 16. Correction letters was 73. Animal complaints was 1. Miscellaneous complaints was 58. Citations were 5. Inspections for health, 2. Building permits, 3. Office meetings with residents, 42. Zoning permits, 6. Warrants to date, 8. Demo permits, 1. Hearings, 7. Mon Valley Emergency Medical Services. For March 2021, emergency calls 129, fire standbys 9, total incidents 138. Fire chief report. Automatic fire alarms 5, assist police 1, CO call 1, standby 4, structure fire 1, flooding 1, wires down 2, tree down 2. Electrical fire 2, motor vehicle accidents 3, EMS assist 1, landing zone 1, natural gas 1, structure fire Charleroi 3, automatic fire alarm Washington Township 0, transformer fire 1, illegal burn 1, structure fire in Carroll Township 1, total calls 31, total responding was 444. Average responding per call was 14.32. Total man hours, 364. 14.32, Delma. Pretty good. Numbers are up. Also, I want to commend them on that stop that they made the other day. What was the address on that?
920 Summit.
920 Summit. It was blowing out the windows when they got there. Very nice knockdown. Well done, Delma.
All under control in 24 minutes.
Good job.
I haven't any report as far as with the board, for the recreation board. However, we did have 5 cameras installed at the Civic Center. They will be monitored by the police station. I also have a motion to nominate Michael Signal to the City Emergency Management Coordinator and to authorize the City Administrator and City Clerk to prepare and submit to the Commonwealth such necessary paperwork to approve and ratify his appointment.
Second. Any questions?
Mayor, when did this come up?
I believe Mr. Greger had the information. We have, to my knowledge, we have not had a...
This came up on February of 2020. We've been looking for someone for this permission.
The paid position.
No.
Since Mr. Persico left in 2013, we've only had an acting person, and luckily we have not had a major catastrophe like we did when we had the blizzard of 2010. So not having someone in that position would be a problem if we end up with a disaster.
I actually had 2 other individuals that said they wanted to apply for it. However, they never submitted the letter authorizing us authorizing us to do a background check.
I don't think.
This is the first
I think
individual
they
that's
just like
authorized us to do a
took
background
over
check.
after he left, so not official. I think.
So is he not applying for the blight? Because the paper I had says the blight review.
No, that was incorrect, that should not have been there.
Do you have this?
You should have this one here.
I don't.
Here you go, here you go. Yeah.
So how did he find out about this if no one else knew about it?
Did you talk to him or?
What do you mean no one else?
I mean, this is, we didn't know anything about anybody getting hired for the position. I mean, how did he find out if we didn't know about it?
It's not a hire.
I know, but I mean, how did he know that this was a position that was opening up and we weren't even aware of it?
I mean, it's been open, but I believe Councilman Gregor.
Well, back in February of 2020, we were looking for someone.
Okay, but you're saying February 2020, but that was over a year ago. Why weren't we brought up that we were opening this position?
What do you mean? The position's been open.
Okay, fine.
Lois, the position's
Okay,
been
but
open.
I'm just saying, this is over a year ago. Don't you think we should have
The position's been open,
advertised and
the
let?
position's been open for 6 years.
Okay, that's fine.
It's not been filled for 6 years.
Okay, that's fine.
This is not something that you just, someone has to go, this guy has to go for training.
No, I
From the
understand
state,
that.
and he has to be certified.
I understand that,
And
but
the
this
state
is
has to approve
I'm
it.
just saying,
And the
this
state
was
has to approve it.
over a year ago, and then it just shows up in our booklet. I'm just asking, but anyway, so we have another thing here why is this in our packet? For the Blight Review Board, is he applying,
Those were the 3 people that applied,
okay, did we pick anyone
that we just voted on Josh.
at large? And so,
Yeah.
Brett, this,
I don't believe there's another position, but I don't remember.
So I think it was the last position.
Emergency management thing. Emergency management coordinator is actually very, very important, and it's not easy to do.
no, I agree it is, I was just saying, I was not saying it wasn't, I was not disagreeing with it, I voted
His
for it.
question was, what was the,
Right, I'm just saying,
it comes with a ton of training, it's not gonna be fun for Mike, he's gonna have to be in Harrisburg, he's gonna have to do it for training.
he wants it, so that's not an issue, if he wants something,
A
you
little bit of background
do.
on Mike is, he was a volunteer fireman for years, I believe he was with EMS, he was a funeral director, he's a little bit knowledgeable in everything that's gonna go on with that.
I think you know me, Delmar, I have nothing
I know.
against it. And I'm just saying, it's just the way that things are being done, but that's usual, that's
normal.
Call the roll.
Councilor Orchakowski?
We need a motion to nominate him if he's the only person?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it has to go to the common.
What actually happens on that, you're required to have somebody in that position. That appointment's actually officially made by the governor's office. So what you're doing is basically taking action to nominate him for recommendation to then be approved by the governor's office and to authorize the submission of that paperwork to the governor's office on behalf of that.
Call the roll.
Councilor Orchakowski?
Yes.
Councilor Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
yes.
Councilor Gregor?
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod?
Yes.
Item G there, I was really going to get into that, but it's getting really late. I'll do that at the next work session. I don't care how late it gets then. It's a situation is, this has been brought to me by several individuals who really want to know what Act 47 is all about, what that entails. And there's a lot to it, so I'm going to let that go for this meeting if that's okay with everyone. And H is the hiring of a part-time civic center director. I think we need to advertise for that. And we need to, perhaps at the next work session, we can discuss what we'd be offering as far as an hourly rate and what the responsibilities would be. It just seems to me that we should have someone who's available to go down there at all hours and let people in. We can't rely on just the rec board members doing that because they work.
And that's also not their duty.
Yeah, and It's been kind of, they let themselves in, which may not be the best thing to continue doing, but I think we really need to look into hiring someone for that position.
Councilman Cole.
Thank you, Mayor. Following is my report. I'd like to get a motion to approve payment of invoices in the general fund in the amount of $231,174.23.
Second. Questions?
Yes, Mayor, what's the armory locksmith for 1990?
Armory locksmith. John, what was that? Was that cameras?
What's this, locksmith?
Locksmith.
Yes, cameras, keys.
I'm sorry, cameras, you said, John, cameras and what?
Pardon me?
I didn't hear your second word.
Cameras and keys and locks, we changed the locks on them.
For $20,000?
We put in
And,
5 new cameras, changed the interior
Yeah.
locks on the Civic Center, which we discussed a while ago, and also put in 2 new cameras in here that do not have audio on them.
Okay, so that could have been about $400 or $500, if that.
Well, these cameras go straight to the police department, so new
Again,
equipment was.
any camera that you can get as an IP address will go straight to the police department or anybody, so.
Well, the problem is anybody. They should only go, and these only go to the police department.
Well, you can, all you do is secure them, that's all.
These
There's no
go-
difference, if they're IP cameras, trust me,
They go.
the police don't have exclusive rights to them if someone knows how to get into them.
They go to the police department.
That doesn't justify
And
spending
there are-
$20,000.
There
Why
are
didn't you
cameras
talk-
down there.
Why didn't you talk to council about doing this ahead of time?
With
That's a
people-
lot of money.
And with people having the ability to go into the Civic Center as they please, there should be cameras in there.
I'm not disagreeing with you, I'm disagreeing with you spending
Do you remember
$20,000
what else
for
they had?
cameras, and you don't talk to the rest of council
No,
on it.
there wasn't 20,000 for cameras, there were multiple orders, and I just had forgot, you know, I forgot what they are, $4,000 or $5,000 a piece, and it totaled over a month, $19,000.
Wait, John, I'm sorry, you
This
said
has-
4,000 apiece, I didn't hear what you said.
Pardon me?
I
said
apologize.
orders that are $4,000 or $5,000 a piece totaled to 19,000, and I just can't remember now what else they did. I
Cheryl,
knew
do
they,
you recall?
yeah, we could get the figures, that's not a problem.
So the locksmith installed those cameras? Is that what that is?
Pardon me?
The locksmith.
Correct.
He did the camera?
Yeah,
Correct.
he does camera work, he's been doing work for about 20 years on
The
camera.
city did not have keys to the interior locks of the building that we own, which is the Civic Center. And some of the doorknobs were broken.
So
They replaced them.
Matt, was that advertised? Did you get several bids on that, or was just one person doing that?
No, as we said, it was under their multiple jobs of $3,000, $4,000 a piece. We will get the figures and explain it to you. No need to go out for a bid.
It doesn't require a
It
bid.
doesn't require bids.
It would be under the threshold at that
I
amount.
understand how it was done, but the total, if it was done in one job, it would.
No,
Yeah, it was
there were
not.
several invoices.
But it's listed under
I
this.
understand.
So my question still is, why don't those come to council's approval before you spend money?
As we said before, they're under the threshold, it's not required to come here.
Everything should come to council,
No,
everything.
No, that's not true.
We have a motion on the floor.
You had at one time a $1,000 figure, which you've never given to us.
Told me I had a $1,000.
I'm gonna just run something by Tim. As a council, shouldn't things like that come before the council, before decisions made?
If there's an expenditure of funds,
Yeah.
city funds, and it's not something that's already budgeted in a line item in somebody's department,
Yes.
then generally that should come before city council before the expenditure is made. Like I said, I don't know the specifics
Yeah,
about
that's fine, we were just,
whether it
we
was
just
under a
want
budget item.
clarification.
And also to clarify, the 19,950, even if it was that total amount for one project, that still wouldn't require it to be bid out, because the threshold is now about 21,000.
We're not even
For it being-
asking about the bid, but it should have came before us as a whole.
Yeah, these are working together. These should all
That's not
know
what he said.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It wasn't
And-
required a bid,
And
but it should
the
have
other
came
question I
before
would
council.
have, that I would ask, please, is that that expenditure from the civic center, okay, that they made, okay, Tim, that would have fallen under parks and buildings.
Or public safety.
I don't know which line item you
Okay.
guys were putting it under.
I mean,
Actually, I'm gonna take the heat on this one. It was at my request that those cameras were installed because it was a safety issue. And I kind of made it kind of an emergency situation. I told him I wanted it done, so I'll take the heat on it.
it's not taking heat, but my
I
question is.
am taking the heat. It's my responsibility, it's a public safety issue. I said this had to be done because if something happened down there, too many people, those cameras that were in there, too many people had access to those cameras that were there. There was a situation going around, there was people showing other individuals up at Eaton Park. They were showing video of what was happening in the various different.
That video was not available outside that building, period.
That video was,
No, it wasn't.
because of the individual showing it. As a matter of fact, one of those individuals that was showing it was you.
You're wrong.
No, because you
You're
showed
wrong.
it to me, you showed me a video on your phone from the shooting that took place up on 10th Street.
I also
You
saw that.
showed me that
I
video.
also
That
saw
was
that.
gathered by the police.
You showed me that video. So
In
that claim that you
2016.
just said that no one had access to that outside of that building is incorrect. Because you showed it to people here. You showed it to me.
That's right. That's because the police authorized me to have that video at that time.
But did they
Which-
authorize you to show stuff like that to the public?
Absolutely.
I don't
Which
think so.
also- Which,
That
which,
was evidence.
which the video that, because you also showed it to me when we were on the vacant property board, it also had audio on it, which again is a problem. But we're not talking about that. We have a motion on the floor to approve
That's
the
not the
general
same
fund
video either.
expenditures. We have a second. Call the roll.
Oh, wait, I have another question on an item, please.
Go ahead.
What's Prime Flex for 14,000?
Prime Flex, John.
That's the,
Is that something?
That's the
yeah,
card
that's your card for the employees.
for the health
Prime Flex.
insurance.
That's what it's called.
Okay.
That's
I thought
the health
so, but I wasn't
insurance.
sure.
Mhm.
Call the roll.
Councilor Chakowski,
Yes.
Councilor Coles,
Yes.
Councilor Thomas,
Yes.
Councilor Gregor,
Aye.
Mayor Sherrod.
Yes.
Item B, I'm asking for a motion to approve payment of invoices and line usage money in the amount of $63,056.26.
Second. Questions? Call the roll.
Councilor Coles,
Yes.
Councilor Thomas,
Yes.
Councilor Gregor,
Aye.
Councilor Chakowski,
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod.
Yes.
Item C, I'm asking for a motion to approve payment of invoices in liquid fuels in the amount of $15,507.57.
Second. Questions? Call the roll.
Councilor Thomas,
Yes.
Councilor Gregor,
Aye.
Councilor Chakowski,
Yes.
Councilor Coles,
Yes.
Mayor Sherrod.
Yes.
Item D, a motion to approve, I'm asking for a motion to approve payment of invoices in Parks and Recreation in the amount of $3,251.59.
Second. Questions? Call the roll.
Councilor Gregor,
Aye.
Councilor,
I have a question, Tim.
Yeah.
Like, not this be the $3,200, but like Parks Fund, okay? Mayor, is this coming out of, would be Lois, or is this me?
It says parks, so.
Lotus is streets.
Yeah.
So I'm Parks, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So should I, Tim, be notified of some of this stuff when it's gonna happen? So I know what's happening in my budget, not when I show up to the meeting and say, ooh, I gotta spend.
You're more than welcome to come to see the city administrator, and I'm sure he will fill you in with all the information. That's what he told me.
Email is a great tool when you use
Well,
it.
maybe if you ask for it, he'll provide it to you.
Do I have to ask for it? It should be provided for me automatically, just like to Lois or Mr. Gregor or anybody else.
If you ask for it professionally, I'm sure he'll provide it to you.
What's that? I'm sorry.
I said if you ask for it professionally, I'm sure he'll provide it to you. You told me when I started that I needed to come down and ask for everything.
That's because you weren't here for 2 years.
Yeah, but if you'd like to get into that conversation, you shouldn't threaten people, but that's a whole other topic.
He hasn't been here for 7 years.
Yeah.
I
and
thought we were gonna do away with all that stuff.
Thank
I
you.
would love to.
Thank
Are we
you.
gonna do away with that?
Never.
Thank you.
You're right, never. And that is the downfall of the city of Monessen right there.
Who brought it up?
Exactly.
Motion,
I could get into a lot of things, and I avoid it.
We could all, just never stops.
It never, and it's not going to. I wish it would.
Then let's make it stop. Let's just
Call
all
the
make it stop. How's that?
Bury it.
If
It
you
needs to
wish
be
it would,
buried.
You wish it would, and you wish it would, and you
It
wish
needs to
would.
be buried.
There's gonna be people sitting there that have the power to make it.
That's right.
Call the roll.
Councilman Grigger?
Aye.
Councilor Chakowski?
Yes.
Councilor Coles?
Yes.
Councilwoman Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrill?
Yes.
Okay, item E. This is a report on the large dollar amount balances for the month ending of March. Number one, in the general fund, $288,235.73. Item two, line usage, $144,708.48. Item three, healthcare, $16,378.93. Number four, parks and recreation, $11,050.61. And liquid fuels, $8,225.60. That completes my report. Thank you, Young.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Mayor, we missed something?
I don't know, did we?
Sure we did, because on this sheet here is $1,283 for recreation board funds, and it's not listed up here. It's in our packet.
I cut it off.
I'm just saying, it's not.
Yeah, I cut it off to give you just for, we're getting down to $1,000 or so.
But we still have to approve the funds though, don't we?
Let's see.
Am I Tim?
For the recreation
Oh,
board?
yeah, there's disbursements under the recreation board, that's $1,283.37.
That has to be
Yeah,
approved.
council would want to approve that expenditure,
Okay,
or those expenditures.
I left that one off.
So how should we?
Somebody would just want to make a motion to approve payment of the invoices from the recreation board fund in the total amount of $1,283.37.
I'll second it.
Yeah, that's not.
Oh, that wasn't. I'll make the motion to approve the payment of invoices for the recreation fund in the amount of $1,283.37. Is there a
I'll second
second?
it.
Question? Oh, yeah. Is there public comment on the recreation fund expenditures of $1,283.37 since it was unintentionally omitted from the agenda? Call the roll.
Councilman Coles?
Aye.
Councilman Thomas?
Yes.
Councilman Grigger?
Aye.
Councilor Chakowski?
Yes.
Mayor Sherrill?
Yes. I'd like to open the floor to public comment, general public comment.
Mayor, Council, Delmar Heppel, Municipal Fire Chief. First off, I want to thank you all for realizing the importance of the air packs for the fire department, and we couldn't do our job without them. And that's a great move by you. The 5-0 vote really means a lot. Secondly, I caught some chirping recently with the cost of lumber and boarding up vacant houses. But remember, one thing I want you to remember, that arson is made up of convenience and opportunity. And if you live next door to a vacant house and you had wide open doors, you'd surely want them to be secured. And I think almost every arson I've been to lately has an open door. If
And
it's
I even-
convenient, it's gonna happen.
Just to let you know, I even talked to Dave, because he's good friends with the guys at Lowe's.
Right.
And I had asked him if there's any chance they could give us, used board or warp board that we could use for boarding up those houses.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be pretty.
Right, so he's looking into
Yeah,
that.
you can't, the #1 fire department has approached Lowe's,
Right,
and
thank you.
Hilltop is also,
Right.
they will work with you.
Right.
If they have wood that's just gonna be thrown
That's
away,
right.
it doesn't have to be beautiful, it just
Right.
has to secure a building.
That's right.
The last thing that I will say is never say never,
That's-
okay? I have been in the fire department for 30 years. Ike's been around 20-something, Donnie almost 40. and two fire departments that didn't always love each other, and we all came to an agreement. So I'd like to take the credit for it, really, but I can't. You have to have good officers on both teams. You have to play together as one and realize that we're all in it for the same goal. And my goal is public safety. It's a little different than you guys, but both fire departments are getting along, and you can see the efforts in the fire department. You can see what the fire departments are doing, how good they're doing their job. We have a great young crew coming up of guys that are really working together, and the officers are getting along. We're accomplishing things that we haven't accomplished for a long time. And I just say to all of you as leaders,
You know what, take the
never
credit,
say
I think
never.
that's terrific, that's terrific.
Thank you.
I agree with you, Delmar,
Thank you
because,
again.
Delmar, what I believe also is that you have all the energy that we put into finding dirt on one another or reasons to fight against one another. If you take that energy and put it in working together as a team for the city of Monessen, then we'll move forward as your sign says. But as long as we keep finding fault with one another, reason to fight, we're never going to move forward. And until we just say this is enough, let's bury it today. Next time, let's come with a better attitude, working for the city. Then we'll do it. But it's not going to happen if we don't
But I
make
would have
a
to say that
commitment.
even as myself,
Yes.
okay, I had faults, okay?
Right.
But you have to put all of it
Yes,
aside
you do.
sometimes to make it all work for the bigger picture.
Yes,
And
you
I
do.
will say, despite all of the issues that we've had, most of our votes are unanimous. So I feel like, that says something.
But you got to move beyond it because just because our votes are unanimous, all the negativity just covers it up,
Well,
makes
that's
it
what,
black.
that's
You
the
know.
only reason I
Right.
came up here to say was all the months and months and months I didn't attend meetings because I couldn't. And yet, it's still, the majority doesn't include the minority, and you have, that's where it's going to start. If you show your unity, if you show you're unified, there won't be all this little picky stuff. You have to include the minority. We support minorities in every other field, let's support the mayor and the council. Get them what they want. Tell them what they need to know. Inform them before they come here and they read and they go so surprised. We're allowed to be surprised. Council members shouldn't have to be. They should know everything that's going on with the majority. They're only the minority in your eyes. Stop it. That's all I want to say. I think you should be congratulated. Get the firemen. That's been waiting that for years.
Anyone else?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
Susan Wade, 1112 State Road, Monessen. First of all, the letter that went out, I never received one at my address. The last several mailings from the city, I have not received.
Okay, that's good to know.
So is that
It was
going
not
to-
intentional. We use the sewage list.
I don't want any political mailing, but if it's city mailing, I want those. So I'm confused because I've never seen the letter, so I've heard all kinds of stuff. I can't make an educated decision without the letter. Secondly, for the cleanup day on Saturday, Lois contacted us and we are supplying drinks and snacks for that. And we'll also be working at the patch beside the library, beautifying that and getting plants in for the summer so it'll look nice.
Where are you bringing the drinks to 9th Street or should
Ninth
people?
Street,
okay.
yes. Yep, we worked that out.
Clearland also donated water again, so,
And I mentioned I have hot dogs, like I have a ton of hot dogs, so I'm happy to donate them or grill them or whatever we're gonna do, depending on how many volunteers we have.
Okay,
So,
sounds nice. I was real hopeful in the beginning because it seemed like so much stuff had gotten accomplished, and in the end it was the same stuff, that half the people know and half the people don't. Communication, without it, you can't run an organization. If my superiors don't talk to me or communicate with me, I can't do my job. You folks were all elected. So you're obligated to the citizens to share and educate and communicate. That's just my opinion. Lastly, I have a photo. There's a sewer drain between Salvation Army and the Valley Manor high-rise.
On 3rd?
Yes, on 3rd. Mr. Harha, you and I had discussed the sewage drain in front of 3rd and Schoonmaker when I had my sewage lines repaired, that it was collapsing in. No one's been there to fix that. But now on this one, there's a hole, like where the cement has actually given away, and it's about 3 inches, 4 inches round.
You're talking about an inlet
Yeah, I have the photo of it.
in front of Valley Manor?
No, it's like in the alley between the Salvation Army and Valley Manor.
Oh, okay.
Like, there's a little alley you turn in, and if you look through that hole, all the support under that is gone, so when that falls the rest of the way, it's about a 4-foot drop. And we back in and out of there every day, and my vehicles are expensive, and I can't afford, and you can't afford for them to go into that hole. So if we could get somebody there to look at it.
I'll get it done.
Very
I'll get
good.
it done this week.
All right, thank you.
That one, didn't you bid that one out to Monessen?
No,
That
that
was
was a
the one
different
on
one.
Main Street. He wouldn't take it because of all the legal things that they were stating. We just have to build a couple of layers in there, that's all. So then
But it looks like on the one in the back there, it looks like 4 to 5 layers are going where that hole has created, and there's a
It's not-
outline where you can tell it's ready. That's the one right between us and Valley Manor. It's really bad. It's right in the middle. You know, so you have to go over. You can't avoid it really, and
I'll
we
get
did
it,
every
I'll get
try.
it, we'll look at it tomorrow and we'll get it done.
Thank you.
Brett McCrusty, 28 Lawn Trailer. I just want to know about that, why everybody's resigned from the recreation.
So, I want to say, starting last year, I asked for copies of clearances. They were never provided. And then at some point, they did provide clearances. All but one person provided all of their clearances. Let's see what else happened. There was no check and balance with the financial transactions, so they were just taking cash payments. There was cash sitting in the office. Things weren't properly recorded. And again, I'm going to reiterate what I said before. I'm not accusing anyone of stealing money. I'm accusing them of bad bookkeeping. There were 2 ledgers. One included amounts that the other one didn't include, and there was no organization down there. And I was asking them to provide this information. Council passed the resolution to put financial processes in place. The Recreation Board ordinance that we adopted tonight, we had the first reading in March, and I sent them a copy of it and told them that they could provide comments with it, within a month. And then out of the blue, all 3 of them resigned. I forget what date it was. I want to say it was mid-March, though. So, yeah. But no intention of closing the Civic Center.
And then the job I applied for, the blight board, who made the decision on that?
For the person,
Yeah, for Josh Lindsay, whoever it is.
I had it on the agenda. Josh has been rehabbing properties on Schoonmaker. So he's doing that building by the Ukrainian Club right now.
Okay.
I asked if it would be a conflict. It would not be a conflict. So
So you had someone in mind before I even did this?
no,
I was
I
going to say,
did not.
did you waste my time?
I did not.
What agenda was that on?
Tonight.
I know, but normally, I'm just asking process here. Normally when people apply, like Brett did, for a position, don't we all get to review them beforehand and give our input as to who we would like out of those selections? Normally?
I don't know when the applications were turned in, but normally,
Well, I
yeah.
Yeah, normally we do, correct? But
You knew in mine.
once
Don't-
again,
Yeah.
we didn't even get to see the people who applied and to review and even put our input into who we thought might be a good applicant for the board. Once again.
And I do believe that if I was sitting on council, I'd want to know everything that's going on. That's why you're here. Everyone should know everything about every organization. I don't know why you don't. That's not right. You all know. You all should know that.
You know, because I think we all live in the city, and a lot of us may have worked with a lot of the people that applied, so we may think that they were a good applicant. And just to have input as to, hey, this guy has a good history here too. And then we could have weighed that out, and then maybe, then come to a decision together. But it's not happening. It's just not happening. That's not fair to the people who applied, and no one even knew they
That's
applied. It's
25
just not
bucks. I'll
fair
never
to
apply for
those
nothing again,
people.
so you're not to worry about it.
It's not fair. They took the time to put in applications. We ought to take the time to at least review them. It's
Also,
not
before you
fair
work
to
with
them.
Mary Jo, too.
It's just not fair to them. I'd be upset if I put an application and not everyone saw and it's like my name was just in vain, and I did it in vain, I'd be upset. Because no one knew about it, we didn't review it. He didn't even actually get a chance. You guys made your own decision. We didn't even have an input.
You got a chance to change the board, change it. That's what we gotta do. You gotta change the damn board. That's the only, because then when it becomes uneven the other way, then the other people are gonna say, well, that's not fair. Well, change the damn board. That's from the top down, get rid of it. You can't have people that have run this city for the last 25 years into the ground, and they're still running the city, regardless what his position is as mayor, but he doesn't do crap. You guys are running the board.
Now, I know Josh,
He's
I
like a
have
puppet.
nothing against
He's
Josh,
like a puppet
but
on a
also
string,
no
man.
Brett. He deserves just as much chance as Josh did.
There we go.
Any other public comments?
He's
Motion
like
to
a puppet on
adjourn.
a string. You gotta pull the string and he's done.
Motion to adjourn at 9:55 p.m.